Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to explore um, a myriad of topics that are all, believe it or not, related. Um, I found some new scholarship today. Um, Wani was talking about the Khoisan people, and I stumbled upon something that just shocked my soul. It, out of one of John G. Jackson's books. I have a bunch of rare books that I just hadn't had a chance to read, and I got a book by John G. Jackson where he explores origins of civilization. And it just kind of fell on a page that proved that um, I'm speaking Egyptian right now. What are you talking about? What I'm talking about is, according to John G. Jackson, the ancient Kemetic language was very close to English, which makes sense because everything else is stolen. Why wouldn't our languages be stolen, right? But I digress. How y'all doing?
Hey,
Hey. Yeah. So let's give it a minute for people to pile in. Please share the room, and we're gonna get to some business. Oh Lord, what's that mean? No, 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 no. Okay, I'm back. All right. So, Wani, what do you know about the origin of music?
I'm sorry, I was on another screen. Well, a lot. I
Yep.
found out that a lot of Greek people that take credit for creating the scale, which is used to claim that they created, like the structured music. I found out that they go over to Egypt to get a lot of these things. Really, when you look at their behavior, nothing has changed. They always go somewhere to get something.
Right.
Even just, I mean, in history recently, Hitler wanted some ancient information about having a war weapon. And so he went over to India and spent a lot of time there trying to probe them so he could build a Vimana. So um, that just goes to show you that they don't have the goods and they always go somewhere else where they have ancient knowledge. So they wore Egypt out and then eventually they, conquered it and took it over and then tried to convince everyone it was always them. Well, if Egyptians are really just Greek people like they claim, why were they always going over there as foreigners, having to learn their language and go into their mystery schools? Wouldn't they just say this is Greece and just go over there? But see,
They're fuck.
that's that's
They're
what they
fucking
don't.
liars. They're just liars. Today, I dropped a nuclear bomb on my ancient world history lecture because the school wants me to talk about the origins of Rome. And I said, "Uh-oh, all right, you shouldn't have told me to say that because I had to talk about the Etruscans. That's where Italians were, the Etruscans. And guess what the Etruscans look like?
Yep, and they got Romanized, as we were discussing before. White people just allowed an entire ethnocide to happen to all of their tribes, including the Etruscans, and they absorbed them. And then a whole new group of people comes over there, the German tribes, who crash Rome. And then they see this is why Europe is more, um, they're more together because they've had waves of ethnocide over and over again till they made themselves into a big white blob that they didn't have to do. They're way more uh, um, colonized mentally, and they have lost their different ethnicities and their different cultures way more than Africans. Africans have simply been colonized and pretty much beat up, but they haven't had waves of another group forming them into one blob, and that's why they're not cohesive at all. They're not cohesive, but Europe is more cohesive, even though they beat each other up though. They have wars and things like that, but they're far more cohesive as a group and they form a better big white mob because they've been doing this. They were Romanized, and then they were Hellenized by Alexander the Great, and then they put them all together and they were Greco-Romanized for quite a while until they became Germanized when those German hordes came through and toppled Rome. So that's what we're dealing with now. They're more of a collective than some of these other groups that we see coming over here, but they have touched their that Hellenized uh, the Hellenization has literally touched Egypt, India, and far-flung places. So that's why they're kind of like they just go right into that white supremacy so smoothly. They don't even think about it. It's because they've been Hellenized. Even though they didn't get conquered, they still have that mindset.
Yeah, yeah, they've been raped into absolute and total submission. Being raped is normal. What's the problem? It's the norm. I was showing the Romans to my ancient world history lecture today, and I had to steal from Paul Mooney. I said the Romans took over the whole world in a miniskirt. These motherfuckers battling in a miniskirt, like no shit. I'm not even joking. Hold on, let me put this shit in jumbotron. A fucking miniskirt.
It's true. So many men wore mini skirts. They really did. Grass skirts, loincloths, a lot of men around the world. And in fact, women just started wearing skirts in the scheme of things. Men wore the skirts. Kilts, they call them. Sure, guys. Hey, Andy. Hey, Smooth.
Hey everyone, Professor Allen.
Hey, and I had mute on. I had my mute on. Hey, how you
Can
doing?
I tell you something? I'm gonna make you laugh. So I went to bed.
Come
I
on.
went to bed last night. You're not gonna believe what my thesis was. Let me read it to you. I said I went to sleep thinking about a thesis on penetrative completion or complete penetration satisfaction on the psyche. And it's just amazing when you brought up that they have been raped into Hellenization, raped into a whole thinking. And so I believe that act in and of itself, and I need people to kind of like remove the sexual aspect of it and look at it from a political and religious standpoint.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great. Yeah, yes. The mind is, you know. I see what you're saying. There's a culture of submission. All the whole world has submitted to them, and foundational Black Americans were the only ones I think remaining that just said, "Fuck
Yep.
it, I'm not
Yep.
submitting.
Us
I'm
in
not doing
Russia,
that."
we're the only ones that said, up yours, baby.
And Russians and foundational Black. You notice that Russians and foundational Black Americans are we're kind of like kept apart. It's like they
Yeah,
don't
we
want us
have
to
no
join forces,
relationship with each other. It's
right?
funny. Same attitude, though. Oh, hey, Smooth.
Hey,
Smooth.
hey,
Smooth
what's
ass.
going on, y'all?
What up, Lowski?
Smoothies Ultimate Adventures here, y'all. I appreciate y'all having me up. So, I just wanted to ask a quick question. It's not relate, well, actually, it is related to the topic. Have y'all paid attention to the news today? I haven't really, I haven't been able to be glued to the screen. Have y'all noticed any uh news coverage about the Janet Jackson thing?
No,
Yeah, I saw. I did. I saw, and I wish I would have took a picture of it, but I saw one of the magazines like really slammed her and said called her disgraceful or
Right.
something.
Every single one. Like, it really wasn't on primetime news. It wasn't on TV or nothing. But all the articles that came out, I told you the way they positioned it, it was like, comes out as a apology, but then she denies it. You know, it's those kind of titles. You feel me? Where it has what they want to get out there first, and then what I'm saying so like I don't think it's like I said they're gonna bury it. We probably ain't gonna hear no more from it until after the election. That's my guess.
Yeah, I let my students vote on did they think if did Janet do anything inappropriate just to be unbiased to him? And I'm at a PWI this year, and everybody like unanimous was like, hell no, she was just expressing her opinion. And furthermore, they were like, they shouldn't have fucking asked her. Like I didn't know until today that the Janet went on a an interview that was supposed to be talking about her life, right? And the lady, the fucking interviewer, who I think was Indian, I think she was, by it kind of alluded that she was. She ambushed her. She said something, and I'm paraphrasing her, but the reporter asked her something like, "How do you feel, possibly having the first Black American female president, or some shit like that?" And Janet just politely said, um, "Oh, I heard she wasn't black," or something like. It was a response.
Oh
So they're spinning it.
wow.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
was so
yeah.
bad, no coverage. It got so bad to the point where Donald Trump had to play it at his own rally. He had to cue the people in, be like, yo, drop the screen. We're gonna play Janet saying such and such. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? And you know what I'm saying? Like I told you, I studied this stuff, man. I said, bro, they're gonna bury. There's no way they're gonna broadcast one of our most prized, most praised black females on television saying, speaking against Democrats. And you know what I'm saying? I was right. I think Fox News probably spoke about it once for a quick second, man, but yeah, that's it. Like nobody's talking about it. They're gonna leave it for the bottom. I think BET released a article. You know what I'm saying? It was a hit piece on Janet, and that's it. Yeah,
Right.
they're not gonna give it that much time. So, we got to study these folks. I studied my enemy, and I've been doing it for over a decade now. So I kind of been able to calculate their moves and how they operate and stuff.
A decade? Wow.
Oh yeah, I've been studying. I've been on the ISIS papers, Dr. Fred Wells,
Oh, you
and
mean white
Dr. Claude
people?
Anderson. Yeah,
I thought you meant Democrats. So sorry.
I study white people. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. We have to, or else we wouldn't. We have to study
Wouldn't
places where we
survive.
wouldn't survive. You better study. Oh, hey, Benji. Macro.
What's up, Professor? What's up, Wani? How y'all doing?
Hey.
Hey, what's
What up,
going
Benji,
on?
with the good
Nothing
hair?
much, man. Hey, so check it out. I believe that it was something Janet had been waiting for, and she 100% obliged this shit when it came her way. Because I seen something today where the clip shows where Kamala Harris is speaking on prosecuting Michael. And I believe Janet has buried that in her memory. And when she got the opportunity, she did what she did. And a lot of people think that Janet was kind of hit with something she wasn't aware of. This is nonsense. Okay, Janet knew exactly what it was, and she took that opportunity to drop that bomb. And to give you further proof, she had somebody on her PR team come out that manages social media, and they issued an apology. And Janet came out and said, "I ain't issued no apology. As a matter of fact, that person has been fired because she didn't give them permission to be putting no words in her mouth on her social media.
Yeah, why in the hell would he do
The
that?
Democrat.
Well, because he
Wow.
probably felt like this is what Janet should be saying. They start speaking for people, and maybe he thought Janet wasn't monitoring her social media or something. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot more going on, and people forget that when Michael was going through the case, I believe it was the Grammys or one of those shows, and Janet had on a shirt. It was like a jersey or something, and it had pervert as the name and the number two, implying that Michael was pervert number one. She was letting you know she was quite aware that everybody in there had pretty much been anti Michael, and she was making a statement with her clothing. So she ain't stupid by far, bro.
Yeah, yeah, I know she's very brilliant. I thought she was kind of anti-political, but that's interesting. I didn't know. So did I understand you correctly? Did you say that Kamala Harris, or however you say it, Kamala Harris, was she was a DA when Michael was in trouble?
She had some type of legal capacity in the state of California. As a matter of fact, Tyreek has that clip on his page, which is
Wow.
interesting. And then after that, in this same clip Tyreek has, you see Trump actually defending Michael on CNN on a completely separate interview in this day and time, because Michael and him were
They were good friends. I remember
I
that.
looked it up. The prosecutor. So I
oh
got the lead prosecutor. I know at least is Thomas Snelden Jr. and he died in 2014. But she could have still worked on the case. But I'm just saying the prosecutor.
yeah, she probably still has something to do with the case. So if you want a free page, it's over there.
That's wild. It's a small world. And that's very interesting. Um, so Egyptian origins of music. Wani, what you know?
Well, I know that. Well, I know that they had the scale that Greek people were in love with. And I know they had advanced mathematics, which Greek people went over and got information on. So I know that they collected instruments from all over the world, and they were the first that I know of to categorize them all into a group. Like they had the drums in one group, the strings, the flutes, and the pianos. Now, they didn't create all these instruments. Like they had a thumb piano in East Africa, they had stringed instruments over here, they had a flute here. Of course, they didn't have a didgeridoo, but you know what I'm saying. They had wind instruments, and they came across them maybe through trade or maybe through traveling, who knows, but they had a wide variety of instruments. They also standardized them and put out concepts of having them like in tune so they could play together. This was something that the um, I'll say Greco-Romans did not have advanced knowledge on, and people like Pythagoras went over and got that information, and then slowly a more structured form of music emerged instead of just, random people singing or doing whatever people do. Of course, they didn't invent singing or any of that. But they standardized music through organizing the instruments and creating the scales so that people uh, have an orderly way to do it. The next thing you know, after the Greek people visit Egypt, they start changing their way of relating to music. And I think what you could say is adding math into the way that they think about music, which is maybe a way that they didn't think about it before. So those are some of the roots of it.
I'm putting them on before one saying what's going in the jumbotron is um hold on, still loading, of an early Egyptian instrument that was created, check this out, people, based off of the human spinal cord. So the first instrument was us. Somewhere along the lines, our ancestors realized that we are, in essence, the instrument of God. How did they do that? Well, as the story goes, they found somebody start hitting the vertebrae of a undecomposed body. And if you think about it, vertebrae 1 through 33 of our spinal column, isn't it interesting that we have 33 vertebrae? That's interesting. They're all different sizes, therefore different weights, therefore different densities. So if you hit them, they play a tune. So our body plays 33 different tunes. Isn't that fascinating?
Like a xylophone.
Exactly. I'm putting it in. I said those exact words in the. I just put it in the jumbotron for y'all to look. So if you look at the the young lady, um, I gave that picture to my niece. It was an actual ancient papyri. I actually let her have it. I don't know if I should have did that. She was 4, so I don't know. Hopefully, she'll take care of it. But if you look at that and you zoom in on the harp that that beautiful sister is playing, and you zoom in on the tip of the harp, it's a head, and and she's playing a spinal column. I mean, a replica of a spinal column. So that harp concept, as any music major will tell you, a piano is. Would you agree that the piano is like a based off the harp, Wani?
Hmm.
I've heard that. I'm not a
Yeah,
musician. So the piano, if what Wani's saying is accurate, the piano is based off the human body. We're playing ourselves. We are instruments of God or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator. We're a walking instrument. Ain't that interesting?
it is. What's up, Indy?
Yeah, what's happening, y'all? Shout out to the room. I just wanted to come in and say something to see if people notice this. Like I was scrolling through Facebook. I don't know if y'all had heard about the guy in South Carolina that just recently got executed, and there was some evidence or a witness saying that was there that night that was saying that the guy wasn't even there, but they still executed him. But another one came through my news feed tonight, a guy named Marcellus Williams. They executed him today, and there was DNA evidence that said he wasn't even at the scene of the incident. So I'm starting to think that the timing of this P. Diddy arrest was to distract us from these two innocent black men being executed within the same week of the Diddy arrest, and like nobody was really talking about it. No politicians had anything to say. I really didn't hear any major radio shows, speaking about it. And most of America was distracted by the Diddy arrest. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But two black men have been executed in the last week or since Diddy's arrest, and nobody, it just hasn't been talked about. So I just wanted to throw that out there, not to change the subject of anything, but I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, I'm actually glad you did that because today at at work, one of my colleagues, he's a professor of special education, but he's a little older. He actually retired as a officer in the prison systems. Like he had like a big job. He wasn't a warden, but he was up there, right? Retired from that and then went back to school. He was in the army. Went to got his GI Bill, went back to school, and went back to education. I think it was kind of a guilt thing. Like, man, I've been locking these folks up, and let me try to teach them. But anyway, real nice guy. Well, this dude was like, he was telling me about, how shit goes down in prison and how, he's arguing that, people do commit suicide because guards are sloppy and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, long story short, we got to talking about Diddy, and I brought up that the Mann Act was created. Now, the Mann Act is a law that was created by some racist ass congressman. I forget his first name, but his last name was Mann. Man, it was after him, his namesake. The Mann Act was created to go after Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was a big time boxer that would just beat the shit out of those white boys. Couldn't nobody touch him. Jack Johnson was very heavily melanated and prouder than a motherfucker. They hated him. White America hated him. Jack Johnson was the inspiration for King Kong, that gorilla climbing the top of the Empire State Building with a white woman, was Jack. So not only was Jack rich, black, dark skinned, and proud, he liked white women, and he used to flaunt them. Pull up in a Bentley with a bunch of blonde girls back in the, what was it, the 20s or some
Yeah.
shit. They couldn't they couldn't touch him. So they got so upset with him that they created a law called the Mann Act that's very vague. So I did some research on it, some like actually legal research today, and pulled the case and was reading it. and it wasn't what I thought it was. I mean, the Mann Act scared the fuck out of me because it mentions illicit sexual acts. What the fuck does that mean? If you're of the age of consent, and if you're consenting adults, what difference does it make?
People we
Illicit
don't like
sexual
having
acts.
sex.
Right, right, right. Like it really. And I went to Black's Law because legal definitions are not the same. Like they're I was taught to well, I was taught to you have to look at a legal definition, and I couldn't really find a clear. It's just so vague. It's like Ronnie said, if you're having sex with somebody, I don't want that the system. It's what Tariq calls I'm white and I say so. And it was so clearly I'm white and I say so that it actually scared me a little bit. And my scholar friend was saying, man, yeah, if you go cross state lines with a girl um, that people don't want you with, they can say, oh, you cross state lines and you're having an illicit sexual act. It's just so much bullshit involved in the Mann Act. Somebody needs to they need to strike that down.
They had one law that was interesting called alienation of affection, and that's when I think it only applies to married people though. Like you have a husband and then someone comes along and, you know, he starts liking the other person, you could be sued. But they have vague laws like that. They really do. They have a lot of them actually, but they usually don't. Um, they don't do anything with some of these laws, but they won't take them off of the books. They may just keep them on there just in case they want to pull them up because a lot of those laws from the 1800s, early 1900s, they don't use those. But I have seen them using strange laws. Like one of them was when men would get caught with 13-year-old girls that they met on Backpage, they were prosecuting them as just with an underage prostitute versus if the 13-year-old girl was like your next door neighbor, the charge would be different. But they have a special uh, charge for a 13-year-old girl that's a known prostitute. So she doesn't get treated the same way that a girl that's not a prostitute is. And I didn't know that. I thought I thought it was just like you get caught with a 13-year-old, that's it. But no, that's how a lot of people get away with um, having sex with underage girls. They could say, oh, well, she was a working prostitute. I thought she was of age. And they can get out of it. But they can also reverse on that and say, oh, you're with, if it's a person they don't like, then they can say, this is a 13-year-old girl. So they can just do whatever they want.
Let me add something else I found. Like I have a friend, right, that lives in South Carolina. And just to speak on the anti-lynching bill that they came up with that nobody has been charged under yet federally. I have a friend from South Carolina. They got a law on the books in South Carolina already. He got charged with second degree lynching. Like they had a fight, and a couple of him and his boys beat up this white boy real bad, and they got charged with second degree lynching. And this was in South Carolina in the 90s. Okay, so there are a lot of laws on different states' books and in state constitutions that we need to take a look at as Black people because they're still kind of enforcing those laws, you know, and sentencing people, based off that. And we need to look into that.
Yeah, it's real fascinating because crim law 1 and 2 were very fast. It's one of those mind blowing classes when you're in law school, and it's very conceptual. And so I was taught, and I think most first and second year law students are taught that crime is based off of mens rea and actus reus. So mens rea is guilty mind, actus reus is guilty action. So they have to be married. So my professor said if you if you have mens rea, you're thinking about killing somebody or hurting somebody. You don't hurt them, no crime was committed. Likewise, he was like, he told us if, you know, if you have an act and you didn't was no intent. Crim law is all about intent. You didn't intend to do it, you could get in trouble, but it's not necessarily like a criminal thing, like manslaughter, whatever. But so when I look at the Mann Act, I'm trying to apply that standard to it, and I'm like, wait a minute, where's the intent? There was no intent. So you're intending to have sex with somebody who's your age, that's of age, and they're intending to. That's not, to my understanding, that's not against the law. Where's the guilty act? There's no guilty act. So, from my point of view, my pro se opinion, that Mann Act is just like, let me get some black dudes, let me throw black dudes in jail.
You're hitting on the right spot. Remember, we were speaking about, well, when I said it, and everyone got upset with me because I said it's going against the law to you know what. This is, I feel like these laws are extrapolations of grandfathered clauses that are inherently, obviously, anti-Black because they stem from slavery. So when we say that Blackness, which is Black people, or the political state of being Black, is criminalized, and that the law is designed to be punitive against all forms and acts of Blackness, including the state of being Black, this is what I'm talking about. And that the law is to protect whiteness, and that there is no legal ramification that allows Blackness to defend itself against whiteness nor harm whiteness in any way. So when I make that extrapolation, like, yes, this is what the law is for, and it is illegal to do certain things. Um, Diddy, and I like that Indy brought this up because we're needing to analyze this in real time. He's used as a scapegoat to murder two innocent people by the state. And why this is taking place now is for a sense of normalization, and so normalization is a part of propaganda that has always been used against blackness, i.e., I do things, but if I do it against a black person, it is considered normal or it is normalized. So now we see that DNA evidence does not exonerate a black person. However, it exonerates all other guilty people. And that's not together, but I
Facts.
just wanted to throw that out there.
I love that you brought that up. It was like excellent timing because I was just about to read the meaning of a scapegoat. Indy made me think of scapegoating when he was like, man, and I'm paraphrasing you, brother, but you was like, man, um, isn't it ironic that the Diddy thing's going on when two black males got lynched? And I wanted to let people that didn't know the concept of scapegoating, which goes back to the Hebrews. Need I say more? I'm gonna leave that right there. So, according to Isabella Wilkerson, every year on the Day of Atonement, the ancient Hebrews took two male goats and presented them before the Lord. Who the Lord? Let me do a little quick sidebar. The Lord wasn't Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, or the Creator. The Lord was Baal. So somebody that I don't worship, at the entrance of the tent of the meeting. Then the high priest cast lots to determine the fate of each goat. One they would kill as a sacrifice to the Lord to cleanse and make sacred the sanctuary. Got it? The other, the scapegoat, they would present to the Lord alive. The high priest would lay both hands on the head of the live goat and confess upon its head all the guilt and misdeeds of the Israelites. All of their sins he would transpose to the goat, and the goat was then banished to the wilderness, carrying on its back the weight of the faults of the Israelites, and thus freeing the Israelites to flourish in peace. So that concept right there is being used on us. And I think this shit's demonic, guys. This shit is ceremonial. Like, we're dealing with powers in high places. People are playing with shit that we don't understand. And it's my opinion that, like Andy brought up, every once in a while they have to they scapegoat. They do a live sacrifice of an innocent brother or innocent sister, usually an innocent black man. And guess what? We collectively are the goats. What'd she say? We collectively are the goat that's banished to the wilderness, carrying on our back the weights and faults of that dominant society, thus freeing them to flourish in peace. That's us, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Every once in a while, that sacrifice has to be done so they can live their life. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I noticed some other shit too. Like I'm sorry I keep bringing shit up, but
No, no, no. Keep going. I love
yeah,
it.
I was watching a little excerpt where Barry White, the singer, was talking about, like, a lot of people don't know that Barry White had his own music label after a while, and he was like one of the first black men to really have his own music label. So now I'm starting to think, okay, Barry White was kind of big a long time in his career. I'm trying to think, like, did something happen to him too? Because he was the story he was talking about was how he uh got to Luther Vandross like early in his career, or before he was signed to anybody, and was telling him like, look, don't fuck with Clive Davis and them because they gonna do some gay shit to you. Okay. Like he was speaking on this, and he was like, Luther didn't listen to him, and some shit happened, and I don't know how related that is, but to hear Barry White talk about how he tried to warn Luther of Clive Davis and other people like him in the industry, it was just amazing to hear. And then to go back and look at some interviews like Clive Davis did recently about his sexuality and how he just talked so freely about his, hankering for pussy. And nobody really criticized it. Like, nobody really said anything. Then I see an interview where somebody ran up on him, in the street like the other day after Diddy got arrested, and was asking him about P. Diddy, and he acted like he didn't know who he was. He acted like he had dementia and shit. I said, look at this shit here. I'm just saying, yo, it's a lot of nefarious bullshit going on, and I think we just need to stay on our square and keep on talking about it. Real talk.
Yeah, we're definitely looking at something that I'm not sure if we understand as something high and spiritually evil. When you mentioned Clyde Davis, my mind immediately went back to our dear sister Whitney Houston and the day where she lost her life. I mean, do y'all remember how weird that was? Like, she was in that hotel and
Yeah, and her
um,
daughter died the same way. Get the fuck out of here.
but you remember when she walked up, she kind of crashed Brandy's little thing and gave Brandy a note like, "This is for you." It's just all weird, man. It's there's something else at play here. Um, that we don't. I'm not sure if we truly comprehend. So I made a really bold claim in the title. I said the Egyptian origin of English. So I finally start reading a book that I've had for some time that hadn't had time to touch by our brother John G. Jackson, a genius. And John said some wild shit in here. Basically, John showed the other day. Our brother Mikhail brought up a point that I didn't connect the dots on that. He said the Phoenicians. I could be getting him wrong. I'm paraphrasing him. If I am, please forgive me. But he kind of made a connection between the Phoenicians and the Atlanteans and early civilization. And I've been hearing Phoenicians forever, and I didn't make that connection. So it was a reason why he told me that, because when I was reading John G. Jackson's book, I kind of zoomed in on Phoenicians. I was like, oh, I would have ignored them if I hadn't had that little bit of knowledge. I just assumed the Phoenicians were white. But John G. Jackson says. He said in a book of the beginnings, quote, in the book of the beginnings, the long list the long list of English words still in use today seem to be that of ancient Egyptian origin. Isn't that wild? He said Massey's book is long out of print. Can't find that book anywhere. If y'all find Book of Beginnings, let me know. I'll make you a deal. But a short section of a list of Egypto-English words have been produced by Lillian Eckler in the Customs of Mankind. So basically, the English word abode comes from Egyptians, abut. Attack comes from Egyptian, attack. It's just spelled differently. Autumn comes from Egyptian, autumn, just spelled differently. Canoe comes from Kenna. That's close enough, right? Count comes from Kant, just spelled a little differently. Cow comes from Cowie. Foot comes from foot. Instead of FOOT, it's FUT. Hag, well, like a witch, comes from heck, which is magic. Kick is kick, spelled different. Like these Egyptian words are the exact same friggin' just basically damn near exact same words of English. And I thought back to an interview I saw on the internet of Bobby Hemmett like 15 years ago or something when I was in school. And Bobby Hemmett said that. He said that Europeans, according to Bobby Hemmett, Europeans didn't even know how to talk. So basically, the Egyptians had to kind of teach them how to talk. And I was just, I'm not done with John Jackson's book, but he clearly proved that a lot of words are of Egyptian origin. And that kind of sent a connection in my mind. I was like, oh, shit. That would make sense. Like they wouldn't want us to know who we were because if we really did a deep dive and found out who we were, we would find out that a lot of things we're doing today, including the language that we fucking speak, it belongs to us. Now, I've had my thesis is this land, the United States of America belongs to us. I said that in the last space and several spaces prior, but I didn't know that the damn language I'm speaking called English fucking belongs to me too. Go
You know what
figure.
I looked at though? I looked at, if you look at the Arabic language and how it's written, I had a I have when I was in school I had a German teacher and he used to speak Arabic, but he used to know how to write it too. But he always showed me, he was like, look, if you look at the way Arabic is written, it's real close to how the English alphabet is, but it's just written backwards. He was like, if you can remember that, you can write Arabic because it all the letters are similar. They just look like they're backwards and maybe cut off a little bit. Just a little tidbit for anybody that wanted to know or didn't know that. I just want to throw that out there.
No, I didn't know that, but we're looking at a stolen, just a complete stolen language. The three main religions come from the same thing. It's just a misinterpretation of the same, book, the same tablet. So, everything is a stolen legacy. The older I get, the more studying I do, the more I realize that all the shit belongs to me. Go figure. Captain, Captain Rowe, you got something to add?
Oh no, I'm just
Cap-
listening. I'm gonna speak lastly, out of everybody.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, Janet Jackson's genius. Do y'all think that so I found out a little bit more information today in lecture during my break. I kind of looked through some interviews with Janet Jackson, and I saw even though um um the young man just kind of identified that it was his opinion that she did that on purpose. What I saw was an interview that said that Janet Jackson was kind of cornered because Janet Jackson was speaking to I don't know what was the name of the magazine,
Mhm.
but she was speaking. What'd you say?
I'm not sure the name of the magazine. I saw her on a speaking just now, and I don't know if she's doing a other interviews. So let me check it out.
Yeah, with the reporter she was talking to basically cornered her. So the interview was supposed to be about Janet Jackson's life and her future ventures and whatnot. But the interviewer, and I'm paraphrasing, said something like, "Well, how does it feel to have the first? How does it feel to almost have the first black female president in the United States?" Like she asked Janet that, and Janet just politely responded something like, um, "Oh, I heard she wasn't black." Doesn't that change the context a bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like
To me, that's
everybody else has heard that.
We've heard
So
that.
it she didn't say nothing nobody else ain't heard. And I want to add something to that that people may not be aware of. So that particular The Guardian that did that interview, if you go back,
that's it. The
the
Guardian, right?
Guardian has done a lot of anti Michael Jackson and just Jackson articles. Like they have been very negative about Michael Jackson and the Jacksons in history. Just go back and Google Guardian articles about the Jacksons. They've always been hit pieces or just real fucked up shit they were saying. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, they really got a bug up their butt about the Jackson family. Well, number one, Michael was a business genius. He got the masters for what was it? The Beatles record? Was it the Beatles?
They don't
I
like
think it was a
stuff
bit.
like that.
No, and then he was a shrewd businessman. I remember Paul McCartney hanging out with him. I guess Michael was supposed to be a dumb Negro, right? And Paul McCartney was like, he was like, I heard that the rights were bought from of our masters, and Michael was like, oh yeah, I did it, it's cool. And Paul was like so mad that he was intelligent like that, like, so they were. Go
What?
ahead. Yeah, this is years ago. Like basically, the Beatles used to hang out with Michael. Everybody did, and I don't know how Michael found out that they were they were needing to sell the rights, or the rights were for sale. But Michael found out and he bought them, and but didn't tell anybody. And um, yeah, I think it was Paul, wasn't it? It was one of them was hanging out with with Michael and was like, "Man, somebody bought
It
the
was Paul
rights to
McCartney.
the Beatles." Yeah, Paul. He was like, man, somebody bought. I don't know if he kind of knew, but he was like, somebody bought the rights to our masters, and Michael was just like shrewdly like, oh yeah, it was me. And that lack of emotion, that lack of apologeticness. I guess Negroes, since we were, since we've been slaves forever, we're supposed to say something like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you. It was me." But you know what? I'm gonna do good things with it. Michael was supposed to apologize or something, right? But Michael was just like, "Yeah, it was me. Deal with it." You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
it's kind of like how he
And
did with Sony. You know, he owned 70% of Sony, and they don't like that, and that's why Tommy Mottola did what he did. He had Michael knocked off. So, and not only that,
Yeah, that that
He owned the Beatles catalog, and so did Elvis Presley catalog too.
And you mind if I
wow.
fill in the blanks on that story you just told?
Hey,
Oh
hold
yes,
on a
sir.
second, man.
Please,
Hold on a
please do.
second. I was here first.
Average was
Let me
next.
go ahead. Let me go ahead.
Oh yeah, average.
I'll
My
just
bad.
butt
Go
in.
ahead.
No, well, first of all, peace to the professor, the host, Wani. What's up, and to the whole family in the room. Good evening. Yeah, no. Well, first of all, the Kamala thing with Janet Jackson. You know that interviewer was East Indian, from what I understand.
That's what they said.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes, she was.
So she's asking, "How do you feel about a black woman?" I'm like, "That's so goddamn sneaky. That is so sneaky. It's not even the subject, And then this woman is asking her, the game that's being played on us and against us, and then by who? It's so disgusting. And the fact that this Indian woman is asking that, I'm like, those who really just not really questioning the play need to wake the fuck up. I'm like, think about that. How just sneaky and conniving that is. For some reason, people don't want to see it. My mother today told me she has a friend, best friend. They've been friends since like 1960. Okay, literally like that was kindergarten for them. All right, they've never had an argument their whole life. Damn near got into their first argument of my mother not voting for neither. All right, damn, because I've been in Mama's ear, but Mama just ain't about that life. You know what I'm saying? She don't see no reason. So you better, because if Trump get in, he this and that, it's gonna be like Hitler, and they doing the baby boomer talk and trying to really get him. It just really went bad. Also, too, to your point about Michael Jackson, I believe it was on the set of either Say or the girl is mine or something like that. I think it was Say because I had a video.
And I think that's when he broke the bad news to him about buying the catalog. Michael's business mentor was Mr. Johnson, who owned Johnson Publications, Ebony and Jet magazine, and he's the one who told him to get into catalogs. So he bought that, and then by the time you get to the Sony Epic deal, that he when he had the little 15-year deal, which was like 89 or 90, and he got half of the catalog or whatever. Mike had that going into it. And I believe what he did was, instead of signing the deal here and dealing with people here, he went overseas to Japan, I think it was, and talked directly to them and got the deal done there rather than doing it over here. And he was able to, finesse that and get what he got. But he set up a plan and he pulled that shit off, and they hated him for it. I mean, to land my plane too. You can look this up. This really just hit me like the Leaving Neverland documentary that Oprah really pushed. That of course had a lot of discrepancies in it, and they had to pull the documentary where they were, a hit piece on Michael Jackson like 10 years after he's been gone. They celebrated the release on a yacht, and it was Oprah, David Geffen, Jimmy Iovine, and I forget who else. But they celebrated that because they couldn't stand his ass, and they couldn't stand what he had, and bringing him down and killing his image. It's connected. A lot of it's connected to what he owes or what he owned, and them just trying to get it. It's a whole play. Everything they do with us, they conspire, and it's to separate us from our wealth and our power. So I love the conversation. Appreciate y'all, and I'm gonna go back to listening.
Oh yeah, appreciate that, Average Black. Thank you for educating us on that issue. Yeah, I was a little sketchy on it, but you're right about that. The separation between our wealth and power. It seems like, and I think our brother Tariq said this as well, that it's a big no-no for us to leave any type of financial legacy for our family, right? I look at Prince. That Prince ordeal is just fucking wild. Like with his wealth, you know what I'm saying? It's wild. Immortal, what you got?
Oh yeah, Average kind of put one of the pieces in there. It was on the set of "The Girl Is Mine" or "Say." One of them things. Paul McCartney was trying to get his little paper up. He wanted the cloud chase up off of Mike. Mike was shooting, shooting like a shooting star. And what happened was Paul McCartney found out that his rights to his music was going up for sale. And his dumbass went to Michael Jackson and asked him. That's how Mike found out. He found out from Paul McCartney. But if y'all know anything about Paul McCartney's personality, he's an arrogant fuck. He's real arrogant. So I can only imagine the interaction between those two when they was on set, making the music and shit. So he comes to Michael Jackson and asks him, hey, they got my stuff up for sale. Hey, just loan me the money and to get it. And Mike told him he'll think about it. And
And he
and the
bought it.
next time he saw Paul, the next time Paul saw him,
Wow.
that man Masters, yeah. So that's why he hated Mike since then.
And then probably with the arrogance, this Negro doesn't know to buy. They think we stupid for some reason. Ridiculousness.
Well, I think that after the transatlantic slave trade, uh, that gives people the impression that the people they're dealing with are stupid, but we are not African, so we don't behave the same way. But dealing with Africans does give people that impression. They have to do a lot of tricky things to get us. They have to do a lot of "I'm white and I say so," like running freeways through your neighborhood and doing other things like that. They can't just trick us like normal people that they deal with. Who's
I
that?
want to.
Yeah.
Go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, okay. I when we started talking about Michael, I perked up. But the thing also I wanted to add, the thing about the Paul McCartney thing and Michael and him inquiring about the Beatles catalog was that Paul McCartney, he could have purchased that catalog, but the one holdout was what's that gentleman's name who died, who was shot and killed? His wife Ono. She didn't.
Oh,
Yeah,
John
John
Lennon.
Lennon's wife. She was the holdout because she had to agree to the sale as well. And so with Michael, I'm telling you, Michael was savvy, y'all. He was such a savvy businessman, and he used his charm to really get inroads as far as business deals were concerned. He got to know Ono. He made friends with her. He let her son hang out with him. I mean, when he got accused of all those false accusations, her son was one of the first people who was speaking out. Like, wait a minute. I used to hang out with Michael all the time. I spent all this time at his house. Nothing happened. What are you guys talking about? But anyway, I digress. But he convinced Ono that he would use the catalog, well and wisely or whatever, and give her a good give a good price for the catalog. So she signed off. Basically, Paul McCartney doesn't tell people that because she didn't like Paul McCartney. But when Michael presented his ideas for it, and that he would be responsible with the catalog, she was like, "Yeah, I could see you owning the catalog," and she agreed to the sale. And another reason why oh my goodness, they despise y'all just don't know how much they despise Michael. All these people, they made so much money off of so many of our legends for so long. That includes James Brown, because remember, James Brown was big on owning his masters. Him and Sam Cooke back in the day, they were really talking about starting a label, and we know what happened to Sam Cooke. So James Brown, he got into a little trouble because he was doing a lot of investments, and he ended up losing his masters. Michael, as part of some of the catalogs he purchased James Brown catalog and gave him his masters back. Gave them to him. And he's not the only one. A lot of the legends who would have died poor and penniless, he gave them their catalogs back. So yeah, when you hear about Paul McCartney was thinking, "Oh, well, Michael, at least let me buy it like at a discount." Michael's like, "Heck no, you ain't getting." He was like, "No, no, this is business. It's business. You understand? It's business." That's another reason Paul McCartney was so angry. He would take jabs at him like, "Oh, Michael talk like this," and okay. He was just really angry because Michael was like, "No, I'm a businessman. These are my legends. These are people who I respect, and they inspired me to be who I am to this day. I just met you yesterday. This is business." So that's another reason why Paul McCartney was angry. And the fact that he also owns so much. Remember when he came up with his last deal, and he ended up owning pretty much the majority stake of Sony. It was either the majority or half of Sony. Y'all, I still remember the press, they were talking about, "Oh, he's so broke. Oh, he's so broke." Michael wasn't liquid. Michael was pretty much worth $1 billion at that time. He just wasn't liquid. So he would have had to sell stake in his purchase in order to have liquid fund. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to hold out to. That's why he was doing that tour. That would give him liquidity. But he wanted to hold his majority stake in Sony because it gave him so much leverage and so much power. He understood that. He wanted to pass it on to his family. He had no intentions of selling his stake. He owned country, y'all. Country music. The genre we created. He owned that. And if you knew how much country music was worth, you see all these people, they're segueing into country music, like K Michelle, Beyonce, and all these other people. Country music is a lot of money. And Michael owned these people. That's another reason why they could not stand Michael. They literally could not stand him. That's why they kept coming for him. And you think Janet Jackson is gonna forget this? No, I'm pretty sure Janet is. Go back and Google it if you can find it in archives. I remember as a child hearing about how Janet and Randy went with their mama to whoop some ladies behind. Janet is about that life. So yeah, she's gonna have her brothers back, dead or alive. She's gonna have Michael's back. Okay, and I'll drop down. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. But the whole time you were talking about that, I was thinking about us. Like, what can we change culturally moving forward to help benefit our children? Like, the pattern. When I analyze this, I was thinking the pattern is just the same. Like, once a foundational Black American gets to a certain amount of wealth, his or her wealth is compromised. I'm gonna find it momentarily, but Dr. Frances Quest Welsing identified the fuck out of that in her book. She basically said, I'm paraphrasing our sister, but she said that they make hold on. No, no, no. Hold on one second. I got an email. Okay, Nick, I got you. I'll try to send it to you again. But Welsing identified that there are systems in place to keep you from passing wealth down. For whatever reason, passing wealth down is a big no-no. And when you do the analysis of our richest foundational Black Americans, you see a similar pattern, a pattern of once they get to a certain amount of money, they get killed and funds get diverted. They have a mysterious accident, or as Dr. Wilson identified, somehow mysteriously they don't marry. Like Oprah. Oprah has no heirs. You know what I'm saying? Or they they are married to somebody, to a Caucasian, wherein the money, once they pass, is diverted right back into the system. Ladies and gentlemen, this is fucking unacceptable. Do y'all know what a feedback loop is? We are our whole lineage is caught in feedback loops. Like,
Oh shit,
what's
Professor.
that? Yeah, we're caught in a fucking feedback loop, man. And I was thinking of a way we can get ourselves out of this feedback loop. And the only suggestion the only answer that popped up in my corpus callosum was we need our own shit. We need to um maybe that's unrealistic, but basically we're trying to assimilate with a group of people that we don't really understand. Dr. Michael Bradley, PhD, said when he was analyzing European psychology, he says, quote, not intelligence, nor morality, nor spirit, but aggression is responsible for the white man's superiority. Aggression is responsible for the expansion of the European, both geographically and culturally, but at the expense of other races. We witnessed the final act of this expansion in our own time. It began when the glaciers retreated, when the worm, that's the wormy, and I say it's a younger dryas, released a white race from its tutelage under fire and ice, when pathological temporal aggression was unleashed upon the world. We're dealing with and I'm not a bigot. I don't, I love everybody, but we have to face reality. We're looking at a temperament that is not ours. I'm not sure if we were supposed to enter to meet each other. I think we may have, or maybe God had a higher purpose, but our temperaments are too different. Foundational Black Americans came from the Miocene, Miocene, the Miocene. According to Dr. Bradley, during the Miocene, the Earth was largely covered with luxurious forest. Two major lines of advanced primates coexisted: ape trending pognids and man trending hominids. We're from a time of abundance, and anybody who's taken psychology 101 knows the nature versus nature argument. It's one of those life changing kind of like discoveries. Why is a man a man? Why a person the person is half their genetic makeup and half of their environment. So Europeans came from an environment that was barren, freezing cold, and violent, and that's okay. But we didn't. And when our natures get together, we become, in essence, kind of like prey or something. But the problem is, why don't we? Why is it so hard for us to see that? Do we just not want to see that? Captain, talk to me, and then Andy.
Yeah, I want to go back to when we was talking about Mike. Have you ever heard of the 360 deal?
Yeah, with Michael Jordan, I know a whole lot about it. I have a friend. I'm not gonna identify. I have a really close
No,
friend.
no, no,
I'm
no.
not gonna identify her.
I'm
What?
not like a specific person, but when we was talking about Mike, MJ and shit, we was talking about how his catalogs was and how they don't want
Yeah.
the wealth to go down to his family and stuff like that. Artists, it don't even matter if it's artists or athletes, but it's this thing called 360 deals where the artist worth more dead than alive. And back in 2009, when
Oh
he died
yeah.
in 2009, and he was releasing all this new stuff, and he was about to go on tour, that's why they did what they did too, as well. It's kind of like, oh, I'm gonna hit back at you because what you did to me years ago, so I'm gonna get you back this way. They didn't want that, because if he would have returned, that would have been trouble for everybody in the industry. And as far as I know, he was already worth billions of dollars. So when they say that he's worth just a billion, no, 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 he was worth at least $4 billion. You got to look at it. You're looking at a man that owned most of Sony, and to this very day, his name is still on Sony, and a lot of people don't know that. And I found that out when I bought a damn PlayStation. His name is clearly still on the credits. That's just how much. They just
Wow.
yeah. That's just how much influence Mike had. And it's like you said, man. It's a shame how they make money off of us, and don't give it to our families. So
Yeah, it's different temperaments, man. Dr. John Henry Clark used to say, "We invited the European to the table, and we became the meal." Indy, talk to us.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw
And
in there
oh,
that
sorry.
the Guardian is the publication is British. Just to throw that out
Mhm.
there.
I wonder
Mhm.
who owns it though.
come on now, you already know who owned it.
Usual suspects.
Right. All right, Andy, what you got?
I'm not surprised about that we're worth more dead than alive. Just this goes back to the Apple checks and their original business venture of ensuring a certain industry. And so, remember when we bring up that we're also capital and chattel. So when you're capital, you go up and down in the market. So we're monetized. And with that being said, they have backwards monetized us. So although we're worth a lot of money, that's extrapolation while we're alive. But when we're dead, then that is insurance and your value goes up. So this is not surprising at all.
And Wani, I wanna speak to I remember one time you had sent me some stuff and I was wanted me to try to help you try to research to find the origins of this company or this what was that thing that that music thing we were trying to find out and find information on, but we couldn't find any a way to trace it.
Um,
I can't remember what it
Not
was called.
UNESCO, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, UNESCO?
Yeah, that's interesting that we can't find stuff on them or
I
find
have
names.
I have 7 emails, and we've literally physically sent things to them. They don't answer any of the emails, no matter where we send them or what we say in the email. So it's weird.
Well, I was also looking at how Candace Owens got those strikes on her YouTube and they took certain videos down when she was naming, you know, who these powerful J words are and how it relates to Kanye and some of the things he's been saying. So when people were saying he was crazy or whatever, and all the attempts, I would go ahead and say attempts on his life to try to discredit him. All this shit is really starting to come to a head and make sense. Like, I don't think he that crazy. Like, For real, I really don't. And the attacks on Candace Owens, I'm not trying to defend her by any means because she is what she is. But some of the shit she puts out is true. And they wouldn't be attacking her like that if the shit wasn't true or damning to the point. I know she's angry and that's why she's doing it, but I, I I'm not quite ready to counsel her yet. I would like to just her to be able to continue to do the work that she's attempting to do. But it's getting kind of scary for her probably because soon if she keeps doing it, they're probably gonna come after her in a whole nother way. So I'm
Hmm.
just gonna say that.
I'm against her because of her anti-Black American statements. She
Absolutely.
does say some good statements regarding other issues, but she has that ignorant immigrant tribalism where they are blind to their filthy backgrounds with statistics included. And they want to talk about our background while trying to be part of it, just like her. She's like the main one who does that. People did not even know she was from the Virgin Islands. And then they want to pretend like the oh, that's the US Virgin Islands. No, it's not. You're from an island. It doesn't matter whether we bought it. You're like a trading card to us. Puerto Rican people believe that if they're one of the states at some point that they somehow become related to us. It doesn't matter if they become one of the states. They still have nothing to do with chattel slavery on this land. They still are not genetically a part of the ethnogenesis. They don't have anything to do with us. The only thing that Caribbean people have to do with us is that they have closer proximity to begging for our culture. That's it. That's why they feel so entitled. They have a longer history and they're in close proximity to snuggling up under our culture and pretending that it's theirs. That's why they feel like they can say drill music is theirs when it says Chicago drill. That's why we have even forgotten that we created reggae, popularized it, we created the beat, we popularized it in Jamaica. We had record deals in Jamaica where we popularized that form of music and had international hits before they ever did. And then they'll say, oh, well, we had ska. Oh, what's that? Something influenced by R&B and B and jazz. They don't have a music genre. Then they'll revert and say, oh, calypso music. No, that's a Trinidadian form of music. They created the steel pan drums to make that music. So you have to share calypso music with all of the Caribbean. You have not produced a form of music yet. Shall I go through the details about how we created reggae after this, or are we going to talk about something else?
Carry on. Let's hear it.
Yeah,
You ready?
I want to hear that because I didn't know that. Educate me, please.
I
Educate me as
have
well,
no
Wanda.
problem doing that. Just hold one moment. Did you want to say something, Indy, while I'm looking it up?
No, no, no. Go ahead. I didn't even mean to put my hand up on that. I was trying to do something else.
Well, while Wani looks that up, we were talking about keeping us down, and I found an article that's highlighted by Isabel Wilkerson called "Terror as Enforcement: Cruelty as a Means of Control." Isabella Wilkerson says the only way to keep an entire group of sentient beings in an artificially fixed place beneath all others and beneath their own talents is with violence and terror, psychological and physical, to preempt the resistance before it can be imagined. Evil asks little of the dominant caste and others than to sit back and do nothing. All it needs from bystanders is their silent complicity in the evil committed on their behalf. Through the caste system, though the caste system will protect and perhaps even reward those who deign to join in the terror. That's why you have the young man in Memphis um, being beat down by cops that all were black men.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
They don't need to. In fact, white people don't even need to be white supremacists anymore. There's so many brainwashed, colonial brain damaged attack dogs rolling around trying to get brownie points that they don't need it. So, back to what I was saying. First, the song No More Doggin', which is by Roscoe Gordon, was playing on the radio in the southern states of the United States. And this was heard in Kingston, Jamaica. So this is the beginning of what I'm talking about, the sucking up to us, just trying to listen to what's going on the big land. We're on the big land and they're tuning in, trying to hear. They don't have anything going on over there. I want people to understand the desperation on those islands, the lack of culture that they keep trying to say that they have and we don't. They were tuned in to hear what we were doing here in America. And we were playing this song called No More Doggin' by Roscoe Gordon. It played on the off beats. Okay. So after they heard that, they got very excited about it and they liked that song. Then, after that, a little while passed, and a song came out called Hold Me Tight. And that was in 1968. And this guy, Johnny Nash, was a Black American, but he was signed in Kingston, Jamaica. So he went over to Jamaica and produced a lot of songs. Now, they didn't have the ability, just like now, nobody wants to hear anything they're talking about. They only want to hear what we're talking about. And if we co sign them, that's why everyone has to come over here and get street cred or get something first. You're not just going to start doing something and everybody goes and flocks over to Jamaica to see what you're doing. Nobody cares. I can't stress that enough. No one cares what you're doing in Africa or in the Caribbean. They care about what we're doing and what we think is cool. We dictate what is cool. And don't forget it. So, anyway, we start getting international acclaim on this style of music. And of course, we know that song. I Can See Clearly Now and the Rain is Gone. That was in 72. But he continued to produce songs with this type of beat and popularized it. But at the same time, they were copying. And so they came out with a song called Israelites. So they were behind us in the production of this music. Um, okay, let's go into blues parties. Now, they keep talking about sound systems and blah, blah, blah. They came over here during the work shortage and they saw us doing blues parties in the street. And they, when they went back, this is when they would send you back. They didn't send people back. They don't send people back now. You can do anything over here. This country doesn't have any value. It's just a big open wound. So they sent them back and they got these Chinese Jamaicans to create sound systems for them. And that evolved into dance hall music. Again, dance hall music would not exist if they hadn't stolen the sound system culture from us that they saw, and it wouldn't exist unless Chinese people built the sound system for them to play because they didn't have the ability to do anything. Okay? They didn't have the ability to come up with the idea of blues parties, and they didn't have the ability to come up with the sound systems. So a Chinese guy had to do it for them. So then, like I said, when we go into ska, when they say, oh, well, ska music is part of it, well, that comes from jazz and R&B. And B, and they've tried to weave that in and act like, oh, well, we have something to do with reggae. They have absolutely nothing to do with it. I can't stress that enough. Only that it's just another form of music that we've just, swatted over to them to play with, just like drill. We did drill music. It's called Chicago drill. because it was made in Chicago. But now they're over in the UK claiming they created it. No, you didn't. You have nothing to do with it other than stealing it like everything else. You don't have anything to do with it. If you ask AI, what's the influence in this? Oh, the Jamaican influence is calypso music. They didn't invent calypso music, so they didn't create steel pan drums. People in Trinidad did. So they don't have any influence in this music, which is pretty bad to get credited for a form of music that you literally have nothing to do with. This is yet another thing that was stripped from us that we didn't care about because we make so many genres. It doesn't matter. But they literally have this preserved with UNESCO. Really? You didn't? Why? What do you have to do with it? You didn't create the beat. You didn't have the first hits. You didn't popularize it internationally, and you didn't even create the distribution, the engineering, the recording, or anything. That was done for you by us and literally Chinese people in your country.
Well, Dr. Marimba, I'm glad you're talking about this one because I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time, but really hadn't had an excuse given the topics of our prior spaces and spaces in general. Dr. Marimba who was a good friend of Amos Wilson, I think they both went to grad school together, but she analyzes the on a deep technical level why Europeans don't create the type of music you're talking about. Why it's just not created. And Ani says, "Quote: In the European tradition, I'm sorry." She says again. It is the technical aspect of the craft is music, that is emphasized in the European tradition. And as the technical order intensifies, its musical instruments become more and more mechanical, electronic, synthetic, and unnatural. Those who play them become better and better technicians, but their compositions would be just as mechanical, synthetic, and uninspiring as the instruments on which they were played if it were not for the utilization of the musical creativity and awareness of the Black American experience. In America, innovation, music, dance, and language is influenced by African culture through the contribution of Africans who live there. This influence is in turn exported to the larger European community. European culture can prepare an individual for the technical mastery of European musical instruments and machines, and it is able to train a small minority to perform music it has created, commonly referred to as classical, long hair, or good music, commonly referring to amongst Africans in America as dead music. But European culture must rely on the creativity inspired by us, the African American musical and expressive genius for the music and dance that most of its members enjoy. This circumstance is directly related to the nature and ideology of the cultural and radical differences between the both of our beliefs. She says Untamarus, but that means like a core belief system. Europeans are obsessed with control. They want to control everything. They want to control the music. I used to really love to play Miles Davis in my classes. I need to get back to some kind of blue with Miles Davis. But Miles, with all his genius, he once criticized Europeans. He said, with respect to music, he said Europeans are afraid of the note. And they were like, "Well, what do you mean, Mr. Davis?" he said they're afraid of it. They kind of go around and they touch the note. They just barely touch the note. He says, whereas we and he said, brothers and sisters, we jump on that note and strangle it. Like we just jump on it and just take full control of the note. I'm not a musician, but I kind of understand what he means. Like we have a mastery of the instrument. We become the instrument and we express ourselves through the instrument, where European society is obsessed with getting stuff right. When unfortunately in this life walk, there is no right or wrong. Everything is a shade of gray. Go ahead, Indy.
You want to know something funny though? Like, so like growing up, I never knew that Sade was the name of the band and not the actual woman that was the lead singer. You know, like I think that's funny, but like she was so fine and just so uh all that, I would
Cool.
say. Um, but to get off that, um,
I thought she said her name was Sade Adu. Irene is in there somewhere.
yeah, her name is something else. I think that was the
Adu
name
is
of the
her last
band.
name. It is. But she said it was Sade Adu. You know how Africans are. They lie a lot. But I still love that music and it reminds me of a certain time in life.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, Professor, can you bring up? I don't mean to change the subject, but can you bring up Brother Arthur because I've kind of been out of the loop and I wanted to see if he could give us an update on that OMB lawsuit or what's going on with that. I not to change the subject, but
No, you're good. I just sent him a invite to speak.
Hey Arthur.
Did you get it, Arthur? I just sent you an invite. Wani, see if you can send Arthur an invite. I've sent it to him twice.
Okay.
Maybe my space is acting up. While we waiting on Arthur, what you got, Immortal?
He mentioned the brother mentioned Sade, and the name of the group might have been Sade.
Always thought it was her name.
Yeah, that's her name, and the name of her band is actually called Sweetback. If you go look up Sweetback, they put out an album, in the '90s. It had Diggable Planets on it. They just did the instrumentals, and they had other people coming on the album. Yeah, the band is called Sweetback, and Sade, I think she kept that as her, name. So I'm just throwing in the
That's
little music.
her name is Helen, not Irene. Helen Fasade Adu. Sade is in her middle name, Folasade. So she shortened it to Sade Adu. So it's part of her middle
oh,
name.
okay.
That's confusing. And I did too, because they said when I first saw it, I said, Irene, what's all this? But it was really Helen Folasade Adu. And everybody in her class used to say, much ado about nothing. She got teased.
She was amazing. That's all I can
Hmm.
say about that.
She still is.
you you got to be careful about teasing certain people. Some people get motivated
They
by it.
do.
And her daughter looks just like her. Like it's
Oh my
crazy.
God, really? I
Yes.
gotta look that up.
Brother Arthur, what you got for us?
How y'all doing today? Well, it's been 14, actually 16 days from when everybody got their letters of intent to sue. So I haven't heard anything back from them, but I got advised that I need to exhaust by sending another letter to give them 14 days to make kind of give them a reminder. So once that's over, that's when we have to file the complaint. Uh,
So how many days has lapsed for civil
Well,
procedure?
16,
What'd you say?
16 days is what when I sent the letter of intent to sue. So I
Okay.
haven't gotten a response from them yet. So I was
Okay.
advised to go ahead and send another letter as far as reminder for of course certified. And once that 14 days is up, then I can go ahead and file the complaint.
Nice. I forget that the roof. That was one of my least favorite classes in law school. So because you have to remember dates and some reason some deadlines are 2 weeks, 14 days. Some are 90, and I would always get them confused.
Well, I keep everything updated on the American Freedmen Legal Fund when everything hits and uh, all the when everything was delivered, so then everybody can actually see what's going on. So
Is that your website or is it
no, no, that's actually where we raise the funds to do all the legal actions, preservation work, and advocacy for freedmen.
oh man. And what's that website again?
Well, is that the go? Is that you have to actually share the link inside of the blue pill, purple pill, so then y'all can actually go there and see what's going on. And I put updates on my on posts all the time, even lists of what we've been doing. So it's always there.
Hey Arthur,
Okay,
hey
appreciate you.
Arthur, have you been
Go ahead.
invited to the ADOS conference coming up? Because I mean, I know they're gonna do their own thing, but I think kind of what you got going on would be, because they do like workout, like breakout workshops type of thing. I think that would be good if you were in there somewhere, but I don't know what your relationship is with them. I don't know if you've already been invited or.
No, I haven't, but I haven't really tried to work with any organizations because I've been invited into organizations to work with different different groups that's kind of putting things together. That just slows what I'm trying to do down because you got to get all these hands into it in order to make things move forward, and then there's disputes on how it should move forward. I'd rather just go ahead and do all the research myself, get all the inputs from people who I know that I can trust. For example, my niece, she worked with the NWACP because she's an attorney. I'd rather work with people I know because it's when you start working with people from all different dynamics, it just slows everything down.
And I've noticed, brother, I'm glad you said that. I've noticed you got to be careful with your circles and with strategies for our reparations, or because I've noticed there are people in the mix, even on the app. That, and I was just telling Wani, I'm not going to say these two people, but they come around pretending like they're in the movement, but they're really taking notes. I'm preparing to write a book that proves the foundational Black American has our land based identity is rooted in the United States of America, and I'm just breaking ground on that. And I was in a space and I brought that up, and two people were like, "Well, how are you going to prove that? How are you going to prove it? What's your sources? What's your source?" And I was like, "Why in the hell would you ask me that?"
Hey,
You know what I'm
hey,
saying?
professor, in your book, are you gonna do like a? I don't mean you to reveal everything, but
No,
would
you
it be
good.
strategic to like do maybe like a state by state breakdown of the South and how much land was actually stolen, so you can get a just a starting point of a calculation, maybe?
I didn't think about that, but I'm taking that idea if you don't mind, brother. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. Please take that idea because I really think because when I looked into my genealogy and looked at stuff that was stolen from my grandfather, great grandfather, like land, I can just imagine how many other people had land stolen or whatever land was promised to them in the break off or whatever, and the 40 acres and the mule. It will be it would be good to do a state by state, how much land. I know you probably can't get an exact number, but like kind of hint towards it, so that can definitely be if any major real traction towards a genuine study ever really happens, that has to be a part of it.
Well, that's the thing. I've written I've been part of at least one congressional study that was mandated by the Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen in Memphis, and that was cool. But the whole idea of an official study, what is that? It's official if we say it's official. You know what I'm saying? But I hear what you're saying, bro. But if you look at Special Field Order 15, it clearly it answers a lot of your questions. So it says, quote, um, hold on. It designates the entire southern coastline 30 miles inland for exclusive Negro settlement. So the entire southern coastline was supposed to be ours. Freedmen could settle there, taking no more than 40 acres per family. By June 1865, 40,000 freedmen had moved into these new farms in this area. But President Andrew Johnson in August of 1865 restored this land to Confederate owners. So I would be interested in finding out, finding people who were related to the land that was misappropriated.
But I
But yeah,
So
thought the
you would find most of that information at like a register of deeds office of a county, you
right.
think?
Yeah. You when you're looking at that type, yeah, that's like the simple way to do it. But sometimes what I've found in my research in Alabama, trying to look up that stuff, and this is gonna sound ridiculous, but it's true. Some of those records are sealed. So lawyers have filed motions to seal the record. So it's like, why? It seems like it should be public record, but you run into blockages when you look for that type of stuff. But I have other ways to go around that, so
but
I'm not
I
really
thought the
concerned.
Gulagichi actually got a prevent, I guess what you call it, preservation act on a lot of that land.
Okay, yeah, I haven't done any research yet. I mean, I hadn't done it in South Carolina, but that's on the agenda.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
going to be my next question. Like, is there any way through the federal government that could open up that type of research?
Yes. So that goes back to Dr. Claude Anderson's ideology and powernomics. We need to elect our own officials. Like I'm not trying to be facetious, but the solution to our problem is very simple. It's very simple. We need to be able to pay our own politicians. We need to come together and pay. I mean, the foundational Black American community, no outsiders. We need to fund our own Congress people and have them on a tight leash. That's according to Dr. Claude Anderson, a tight leash telling them exactly what the hell we want them to do and remind them that they work for us, and once they get in that position of power, then they could change things. The problem we have is you get black faces and black looking people, you know what I'm saying, in these positions of power who've been paid for by corporate interests, and corporations remind them who the hell they work for. You know what I'm saying? So they will never. It's insanity for us to believe that they would do anything on our behalf when they've been bought and paid for by corporate interests. I don't even know why we think. I guess we think they're going to have a crisis of conscience. But
Well, let me ask another question, Professor. I can get your opinion on it, and anybody else in the room that want to chime in on this, 'cause I know somebody else been thinking about this. Why why aren't more black people behind Cornel West's campaign? Because he has another black woman as his vice chair, and she's done like I researched her. She's done like a lot of activism work and been to jail and
Is
like and done a lot of stuff. So
Let
why?
me ask a quick question. What about his vice president selection? Do you know about her?
Yeah, I saw some stuff, some activist stuff she was doing. Like she's been arrested.
Is that who you've been that's who you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah, she's been arrested.
She's a hardcore Pan-Africanist. She's not going to understand or care anything about lineage based anything. That's why I'm not paying attention to him.
And I, brother, I grew up. My father. That's why he's the reason why I wanted to be a professor. I grew up reading his Race Matters with my dad. My dad was, had me as a idolizing him. But the reason why I wouldn't not really considering voting for him is his ideology is a help all. Like he wants to help everybody. I don't foresee, and I've followed Cornell for 20 years, but I don't foresee him based on his history. Isolating foundational Black Americans to help us. He said by his own admissions that he's here to help Black and brown. The what does he say? He said the beautiful rainbow community. He wants to help all. He would be upset. He would be focused on like a minority type of reparations agenda,
So
and
so
that's.
do we
Go ahead.
go Jill
But I
Stein or
love him
do
as a
we do the
person.
couch? Like, I mean, is anybody opposed to
Mm,
Jill Stein or what do we do?
I think we have to look back at history. That's history erases the mystery. So the question is, have we ever been here before? And short answer is yes. We were here in the same predicament when Lincoln was assassinated. Lincoln, like we were just reading earlier, Special Field Order 15 was um, was done by Lincoln. Now, let me get something straight. Lincoln didn't give a flying fuck about black people, but he was put in a situation where he needed us, and there were brilliant people in brilliant foundational Black Americans in the slips like Frederick Douglass, who never went to law school, but somehow mysteriously knew about condition precedents. Um, Lincoln was getting his ass mopped by them Southern, them white boy Confederates. And as history goes, Frederick Douglass told Lincoln, got word to Lincoln that he had a solution for the war. The solution was us, foundational Black American men, um, who would later become the 54th Regiment under the leadership of William Tecumseh Sherman. Well, Lincoln took him up on that deal, and Lincoln said, I think, was it four times wanted that he wouldn't have won the war without the Negro. Um, well,
Three or four,
um,
maybe three.
I think it was four. But I'm gonna look it up, and when the next
Could
person talks,
be.
I'll
Yeah,
find
it
it.
could be. Let me look up what I have already, and I'm just pulling these up.
Right. Well, Lincoln. Frederick Douglass gave Lincoln a condition precedent. How in the hell? That's so brilliant. The condition was, I will give you the black man to fight in the war, but you need to free us. And then Lincoln countered, as he's an attorney, he knew had the power of words. He agreed to emancipate. Um, um, the enslaved black. So emancipate is a real tricky word, and I get in trouble for saying this. I don't care because it's not my idea. This comes from attorney Altomatics, one of my personal heroes. Altomatics proved that emancipate doesn't mean free. And I'm putting some scholarship in the Drummatron. Emancipate comes from the Latin word emancipare, which means transfer. Now, context is everything. I tell my students this. Context is everything. So transfer in the context of what? Emancipare was means transfer in the with respect to a Roman slave. So the Romans would transfer the ownership of their slaves to other owners. So, according to attorney Alton Maddox posited that the Emancipation Proclamation transferred the Black American from private ownership to a system. Now, is that true or not? I'm not going to answer that. I'm just going to say that's what attorney Alton Maddox said, and I put scholarship in the jumbotron that shows you the meaning of emancipate from several different sources. So if you look at dictionary.com says emancipate definition and meaning. It says world history and origins of emancipate from Latin emancipare to give independence to its parens a son from emancipare to transfer property. So during the chattel slave trade, we were chattel, which means property. Let's do one more. Let's look at Collins, although I have four different ones in there for your reading pleasure. But Collins Dictionary says emancipate definition in American English. It says emancipate in American English to free from restraint, influence, or the like, to free a slave from bondage in Roman civil law. So back to the I'm kind of being long-winded with this, but I needed to put down some background. So your question is, how are we going to get out of this? You brought up Jill Stein. So when President Lincoln was assassinated, and that's a whole nother story I'm not going to get into to save time. But when he was assassinated, Andrew Johnson, a Democrat, they called him a Dixiecrat, but same difference, um, st- started one by one reversing everything that the black freedmen had achieved, including but not limited to Special Field Order 15. So, what did we do in that? What did our ancestors do in that position? Well, our ancestors did research. Now they didn't have college degrees. They didn't have a fancy group to walk around and throw up signs and wear jackets. No, no, no. But they had each other and they had their brains. So our ancestors got together and said, we need to get rid of Johnson. Johnson is a threat to our livelihood, our lives. And they looked at candidates and they identified a candidate who they knew they could use. Now, I don't think Ulysses S. Grant really cared about black people. But again, our ancestors did their research on Ulysses. And what did they find out? They found out, number one, Ulysses was a fallout drunk, an out bad alcoholic. And people under the influence can be what? Influence. Get it? And number two, there were rumors floating around that Ulysses had a friend or a crush on a black person. So they strategically picked Ulysses S. Grant because he was malleable with his with his addictions and such. And they used Ulysses S. Grant, a Republican, to get the Reconstruction period, which was one of our most powerful periods in American history. In essence, Reconstruction was almost like reparations,
Pastor.
similar. Yes, sir.
I wanted to answer that brother's question about why nobody's fucking with what's his name, Cornelius West. Well, one, because he's flip floppy as hell. Like the professor said, he wants to help everybody. You know, he's pro
Yep.
immigration. We're not. We want everybody sent the fuck home. Two, I believe he talks all this pro black shit, but all his wives have been white. You understand? So that's why most people ain't fucking with. Well, most black Americans ain't
Five
fucking with.
wives. Five wives.
Five.
And he went through great lengths to hide that. Like I told you, I grew up in the '90s with my dad, watching him and reading all his shit with my daddy, and we would watch interviews. I had no clue that he was married to a white lady.
Yeah, he
I
try to
assumed that
hide
he
it.
was married to a sister.
He's what we call a
Yeah.
shirker.
That shows a lot of dedication to marrying ethnic white women. I
And
gotta
then,
give it to him. He keeps trying, keep
and,
going.
and then
You
I
up
have
there with them Elizabeth Taylor numbers.
then I have another question. Why the hell does everybody act like they're so confused on who they're gonna vote for? Like, I get it. No one's giving us anything, but we have a bargaining chip we can use with Trump. Him sitting and sending everybody back. And if you think it back to what is it called, Reconstruction times, you know, like you said, Ulysses Grant, he was a fallout drunk, and our people knew
Right.
that. But at the same time, it was just us and those people here. We have all these other fucking people in the way of our politics. And then Trump at the same time is so
Right.
confused to why should we vote with him because all the policies he's about to put in place that we can use. Like he's sitting and taking the fucking what's that? The birthright citizenship back, all shit like that. We can sit there and make plays with. So I don't know why people like, oh, he said those words. I don't know if I should vote for him and all that sucker shit, man. Like that.
Because we're not like our ancestors. Our ancestors were pragmatic and would sit down and say, "Look, we're alone. Nobody fucking loves us. Let's pick somebody we can use." We get caught up in the cult of personality. I don't like him because he said this.
Right, man.
And
And I
when that
don't like,
you don't got time for that.
man, like we need to pick him. Because, and on another note, if he
I
doesn't
don't
live
know.
up
I
to,
don't know when y'all gonna let the floor be open, but
I'm,
I would like to say something.
and if he doesn't live up to what he says, like, you know, his
Can you?
main voter base, they're not playing. They're already trying to blow his head off twice. You understand? Right or
But
wrong, as they
but do
say.
Right.
you really believe that he's gonna send a lot of enough? people back, that it's gonna make a difference for us? Do you really believe that?
Yeah, I do. Like I
I
said, they
don't.
already try to
I
blow his
don't.
head. Listen, they already try to blow his head off twice. This fucking his voter base, who he made promises to. You got to think about it. He's talking about people in the military, people in the federal government, people in local law enforcement, sheriffs, and all shit like that. You know, they're riding with him because of what he said. They're not playing.
Well, the truth of the matter, and I'm just gonna be 100% real. We're in a shitty situation either
But
which
we can
way.
use one to our
But I
advantage. That's what I'm saying.
right, just like Ulysses. That's why I brought up the Ulysses
And these
S.
fucking
Grant
ignorant
issue.
motherfuckers don't get it.
Well,
Right.
let me. I'm not gonna totally disagree with you, but let me give you a little pushback as to
Okay.
what scares me about Trump. When he was in office and he had a chance to balance the courts, or at least put more black people on the courts, like 92% of the judges he appointed were white, and 87% of them were white men.
You still there,
Well,
bro?
he thought. Here's the
Oh.
thing. He probably thought he was going to get reelected again after, so he can work his second term. You understand? By the first term, you're going to want to put everybody that you need to make sure happy for your second term, and it just didn't play out the way it did the second time.
Well, we have to ask ourselves the question, and look, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. As a historian, I kind of can predict things, but we've never, like the gentleman Mickey, I think, brought up, we never been in this situation before. And as fucked up as things, and think of how fucked up things are right now. As fucked up as things were right out of slavery, a lot of scholars argue that we're in a worse position because number one, we don't have home ownership. Like our home ownership is way down. Number two, do we have a black family? I've held a whole space on that, and the general consensus is no. Our family has been damn near destroyed. Back then, we had marriage rates were 80%, or I think 88%. Don't quote me on that. It was at least 80% in the foundational Black American community. We had networks. We had churches that had actual pastors. The church was a place for the criminal, the people who were on the run to go and hide out. It was a place for homeless to go eat. Now it's a place for somebody to buy a motherfucking Bentley and ball out on us. You know what I'm saying? So we're like alone. So we're gonna have to really get our heads out our ass and be pragmatic on
But
what
he,
to do. Now,
uh,
do I know what to do? No, but I know that looking at I analyze past decision making, and the decision making of this Biden administration has scared the living shit out of me. And I used to, I'm one of them families that was raised to be a Democrat. My granddaddy raised us to be, because he didn't know no better. I love my granddaddy, but I've analyzed this Biden administration, and I've come to the conclusion of 4 more years of this, and y'all already know what I'm gonna
but
say.
here's the thing. Here's what the community is not doing. We're not biting anybody back. Specifically, our pastors for playing in our face.
We're not voting locally.
We're not.
That's what we're not doing.
There's no
We're
teeth
not
behind
voting
what we're
locally.
doing. You understand this? Like, okay, the pastor, they sort of, we're supposed to have put hands on people. Our answers would have did it in a second. Like, you really playing with us? Oh, okay. I'm gonna show. You're gonna feel me. That's what's not happening. All right, you got the fucking CDC. When that man he sat there and did that little mocking that shit, what's the name? Reggie Joe Sawyer's, his head should have been busted open to the thought. You understand? No.
Well, there's a reason for that, brother. You're right, and there's a reason for that. And I'm gonna sound like a fucking hypocrite what I'm about to say, but it's the truth. It's because we traded in education for liberation. The white boy said, "Give me liberty or give me death." You know what I'm saying? We said, "Give me a degree and let me figure it out." And the truth of the matter is, the educated black class, the class of black professional has fucking failed us. They've sold us out. I know from firsthand experience that these Negroes get these PhDs, these MDs, these JDs, and then go all out for self. Back in the day, we had a black community. We had brothers without a degree that had dignity. Why did we have that? Because we had that because Booker T. Washington had an ideology called the industrial education, where Booker T said, you know what, we're not going to focus on being a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, or a pastor. We're going to focus on getting some money in this neighborhood.
And
Every
that was the
child got
key.
a
That was the key right there.
that was the
That was
key.
the key
and
right
and we
there.
and we allowed a trader, and he was W. Du Bois was not the only trader, but we allowed these traders, these out for self Negroes, to trade in the ideology of industrial education for talented tenth. We are living in the talented tenth right now. The ideology of talented tenth is the best elite Negroes are going to lead us into the light when they've been leading us into a burning house.
Correct.
So we need to bring back the ground up industrial education, get these children some trades, start supporting each other, and we need our warrior class back. We're gonna go with I think Shatter Jama wanted to say
Shah
something, and then
Jamal.
Captain
Shah Jamal.
Shah
All right.
Jamal.
So
Okay,
listen to me.
Shah Jamal.
I'm listening. I'm reading the topic and I'm listening. I was listening to you guys from, and I know the subject has changed, right? But I want to go back to something. When you guys were talking about the music and you guys were talking about the land, right? I want to share something very, very intricate with you guys because this is very key. My grandfather, Ulysses Banks, he was a freeman. Once his family was freed, they ate off the land. They didn't have a home, right? So they moved from Georgia to Florida, and this is Pahokee, Florida. Pahokee, Florida. They moved from Georgia to Florida to Pahokee. They moved from red. They called it Red Clay, Florida. I don't know if anybody might know the name of that specific spot in Georgia, but they call it Red Clay, Florida. I mean Red Clay, Georgia. They moved from there to Pahokee, Florida. Right now, with all that being said, I grew up around music. I understood music my whole life. And the topic is Egyptian origin of music, English, and Janet Jackson genius. Now, listen to me. My grandfather ran into in the 1991. He ran into a music genius, a Christian music genius, still today, by the name of Ty Tribute from Camden, New Jersey. My grandfather, he was from Peoria, Florida. That's where he's from. He bought land. He bought multiple pieces of land, and it was called Cherry Hill in Boynton Beach, Florida. Before I-95 ever touched Florida, he had that land. In the 1976, he sold the land. In 1991, he found it, and I would say he found a artist by the name of Ty Tribute. That's a Christian artist. We all do y'all understand what I'm telling you right now?
Yeah, my wife loves Ty Tribbett. I like his stuff. He's tight.
Camden, New Jersey. Look him up.
No, I knew all
Ulysses
about him.
Banks found him. He fathered him. He brought him to my father's house. My dad had just been a pastor for 5 years. They prayed over this man for 6 days. For 6 days. They prayed over this man for 6 days. I'm not lying to you. And this man had, after that point, this man has went up. Now, what I'm trying to tell you, from that time on, Ty Tribute, whatever he is and whatever he's doing, he never came back and gave nothing to my grandfather, which was his step. That was his step. Uh, Father-in-law. Let's put it like that. But he found him in 1991. He was a young boy, and his step daughter was a young girl. They married, and they're still married today. But at the end of the day, he never came back and gave nothing to my grandfather. Never put anything in my grandfather's pocket and says, "Here you go, pops. Here you go. Thank you for putting me in position. Thank you for enlightening me." He never did none of that. But the number one thing I want to talk to you guys about is the land. My grandfather in 1976, he sold all his land in Boynton Beach, Florida, which was called Cherry Hill. Do the math and do your research. It was called Cherry Hill in Boynton Beach, Florida. It was called Cherry Hill. And guess what? Today, Cherry Hill it has the highest murder rate in Boynton Beach, Florida. It has the highest murder rate in Boynton Beach, Florida. Nothing good has come out of it ever since. Maybe a football player or two.
Well, what you said earlier about him never giving back, that goes back to that talented 10th ideology. We were brainwashed through social engineering. I'm going to have a space once I get my thoughts lined up on social engineering. Mark Carter talks about this a
Right.
lot. There was a social engineering campaign. It still is going on right now with feminism. It's very complex, but we were socially engineered into the what Professor Chris Hedges called the cult of the self. Like, I have $1 million. Let me ball out and just flex for the gram. Well, back when um at our highest point, when we had Black Wall Street, Rosewood, Florida, Lakeland, the like, Birmingham, we had flourishing communities. Parts of Memphis were flourishing. Well, it was under the ideology of industrial education. When it wasn't about me, it was about us. Um, W. Du Bois was very fundamental in flipping that ideology and saying you need to be the best. Let's examine the black church for a minute. During Reconstruction, like I said earlier, the black church was a place for us. It was my little brother's a criminal. He needs somewhere to stay. Well, the pastor, he can hide out with the pastor. We're gonna feed him. We're gonna try to find somewhere else to put him in another state, in another church. That's what the church was. The church was about us. In my childhood, in the '90s, the church turned from us to Pastor Appreciation Day. Our pastor needs to drive the best car. It flipped into that talented 10th bullshit. It's destroying us, ladies and gentlemen. And we need to get rid of it. And we need to go back to industrial education. We need trades back in the school. As a college professor, I've started telling people not to go to college. Isn't it the most ridiculous shit ever? But you know what? It don't make sense. If you're not going to be an attorney, a nurse, and you know what? Forget attorney. It's too many attorneys now. Let me say, if you're not going to be a nurse, an engineer, a medical doctor, or a handful of things, with all the debt you get in college, college don't make sense. I would tell my son that before you go major in English, go get an associate's in HVAC because they make 120, 130. I got a friend that graduated high school with me, never went to college. He got a certificate in HVAC, and he's a
Bruh,
millionaire because
you're
he has
saying
a
the same thing I
HVAC
tell my
business.
son every day, right? Now, I want to take back what you just said about the church. This is what I want to take back. What I want to rebuttal what you just said about the church, and I want to horseback ride it. I don't want to piggyback ride. I want to horseback ride it, right quick. You understand me? The church did nothing but set us up for handing us off to the school system to be victims of society.
Facts.
They let us be victims instead of protecting us as a totality and also guardians because they're saying, oh well, they got parents, it's okay. But you're just letting my parents look out for me. You're just letting my auntie look out for me, my uncle look out for me. They're not here every day. But you, as somebody who go to my church, you're working at the school, you're working at this church, you're working at this job where I'm working at. There is no lookout. Everything is for we'll see if they fail. And then we'll count out, we'll see where we go from here. But what I want to say is this: the land part. My grandfather had over 58 acres of land in Boynton Beach, owned over 122 houses because he had not sold the land until 1976. Mark my words of what I'm telling you. Mark my words of what I'm telling you. This is history. Ulysses Banks, he came from Pahokee, Florida. If anybody listening who comes from the same place, you'll know what I'm talking about. This man built all from New Jersey to Philadelphia, from New York. This is in Brownsville, New York. This is in the heart of Philly, right next to the stadium, the churches. North Philly, in the hood. He had so many Bible churches of gods, but not one Bible church of God saved a life.
Well, I will say there are exceptions. I don't want to paint every church as
Man,
being
listen here, man. We gotta be real
wrong.
with ourselves, third. We have to be
There are a
real
few
with ourselves.
exceptions.
We're not talking about the people that just skated by and the people just like got by. We're talking about a totality of people and souls that walked through that church, that came through those churches. What have they got out of them? What have they learned from them? Because if they learned anything, they learned nothing at all. Don't let me start quoting the Bible. This is we talking about Egyptian origin. Because if I have to quote Egyptian origin in the Bible, we gonna exempt the
We're not
church out of
gonna
this
do.
because it
We're
doesn't
not
it
gonna
doesn't
do
it,
all that.
it
Nah, it's not that type of space, bro.
I'm
no. But
just
at
gonna
the end of the
say,
day, we're talking. I'm going
hold
with the thing.
on,
I'm
Yeah,
going
it's
with
a
the
little bit
thing.
of
Hold on, hold
babbling.
on,
To
let
me,
Wani
he
talk.
lost me.
I just want to say that a lot of our institutions have been hijacked because they know that
Facts.
we trust them. Like we trusted the
We trust a
NAACP,
lot
we
of people.
trusted the Congressional Black Caucus to go out there and beat up on apartheid. We were all one with these organizations.
All
We
right,
loved
Corey
them.
Jones. I'm gonna give
These
you an
were,
example.
hold on, these were institutions that we loved, and that's how they get you. They know you're 100% sold on this. Okay? They know that. And that's how they hijack them and throw you off the cliff while you think that this is a good place. The church started off as a gathering place, a safe harbor. Churches were where a lot of people that just got out of slavery would learn how to read and write. This is where all of our music was being generated out of once we got out of slavery and probably before. Of course, we trust the church, right? It's a part of our heritage, but a lot of them have been taken over. A lot of them sit there and tell you who to vote for and don't care whether it's beneficial. A lot of them are paid to do these things. So, a lot of these things we have to start paying attention. Is this really helpful to me, or is this person just trying to make money off of me? We can't let the NAACP slide. We can't let the Congressional Black Caucus slide. We can't let any of these groups that keep playing with us and putting all immigrants on these boards about reparations and saying that, oh, I'm in Cobra, I'm for you. They're not. They haven't done anything in decades for us. But they did things before, which is why we sat there and expected them to do things which they're not going to do. We see that now, and we're trying to tear these things down.
But why are we dependent on them?
We're not.
So
We're
so
in.
let's
Calm
exempt.
down.
Let's exempt.
Calm
Hey,
down.
hold on, bro. I'm gonna come back around to you. Um,
Never mind.
to Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm gonna back what Wani said up with the NAACP. The NAACP, and I get in trouble for saying this, but it's facts. According to Dr. Howard Zinn, a race riot in Springfield, Illinois, prompted the formation of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in 1910. Whites, I repeat, whites dominated the leadership of the new organization. Du Bois was the only black officer. He was also the first editor of the NAACP periodical, The Crisis. Du Bois was a traitor. Like Wani said, I don't know. Like I get so sick. I'm blue in the face telling people to judge a tree by its fruits. How hard is it to judge an institution or a person by their previous actions? To me, that's common sense. But we get in this fantasy land, fairy tale of just I don't even know what it's called, but just judge. If you go to a church, that's great, but judge it by its prior actions. That's all I'm saying. Juan, you have something else you want to add?
No, I think he thinks he's in a room where we don't know these things, and he's very hepped
Right.
up to tell us stuff that we know, so it's not going over well. We're actually agreeing, but for some reason we're in a fight with people we're agreeing with. So I don't understand how that's happening. I'm not drunk. So
Go ahead, Andy, and then we'll go to Truth
No,
Rising.
I was just
I just
trying to
wanted to know
find
the
out
name of.
what Ty Tribute had to do with any of that shit. I was trying to put the correlation together. I just couldn't. I
Can you, Andy, can you hear Andy?
I just wanted to ask the guy who was speaking. I just
Andy?
wanted to follow him.
Oh, I can't tell if you guys could hear each other because you were talking.
Okay.
Me
I
neither.
just wanted to ask his name so I could follow him.
Who?
The guy who was talking about the churches.
I
Kept up?
I think he
Oh.
dropped.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll find him. All right. Truth Rising. What you got?
All right, I'm at work. Sorry if there's background noise. I'm just heating up a hamburger here, so I got a second to talk. I just want to say I really like what you guys are saying. Go back in time, and I share all of the same feelings that you guys have, and I think we got to look forward to 2028 because these parties and these institutions have let us down, and they're trying to divide us in the nation right now. I'm white, and I just want to say that I've aligned with everything you guys are talking about. I feel like this MAGA party we have is great, but we need something else in the nation that isn't divisive and that is pretty much a, a unifying voice that is against the institutions and against the parties in the nation. I don't know if it's an independent party or what, but we need somebody to form some type of a movement that we can get the whites and the blacks together. Otherwise, we're just divided and we are going down in a downward spiral. But we align on all of these topics. We hate these institutions and we hate the fact that they've turned on us and they haven't produced anything. They haven't borne any fruit. They are spoiled and rotten to the core and they are bringing this nation down. I just wanted to say I liked everything you guys had to say.
Now back to
Yeah.
I was just
Go
going
ahead,
to say
Warner.
back to what he was saying. We are actually working in parallel. We're not together with white people that want to do good by the United States, but we are working in parallel to that. We're not really, we don't really have a group of black and white people together that are saying the MAGA message. But I think what's going on is this. Not think, this is what's going on. MAGA has a racist overtone, and that's needed to stir up emotions so they'll get out there and vote. I get it. That's really the only way you're going to get attention is to get people angry and get them motivated. So I'm not going to feel comfortable about hanging out with them at some kind of outing because I don't like that environment. But as long as they have the United States at its core of wanting it to be better, then we're really in agreement. I just don't like the messenger. And that's fine. I don't have to be over there. I don't have to, tongue kiss these people. All I want is for the country to get back on track and get all these sanctuary cities out of here, get all these leeches out of here, and get it's just turned into a Tower of Babel right outside my window where no one even speaks English, not even the white people. So you know that I want to get these people out of here.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, and I want to issue a warning that this has happened before. History does not repeat itself, but like Mark Twain says, it rhymes. And what the gentleman said kind of sounded like Bacon's rebellion. Um, what made, according to Dr. Howard Zinn, what made Bacon's rebellion especially fearsome to the rulers of Virginia. Stop right there. What I'm saying is when whites and blacks come together and coalesce on an issue, that's when agencies get involved in doing what they do best, into assassinations. And you have to keep in mind, our dear brother Fred Hampton was assassinated because he met with the Klan, and the Ku Klux Klan liked his message. I mean, it was members of the Aryan Brotherhood and the Klan, and white supremacists were like, you know what, this young man's talking some real shit. That's why he got hit. But according to Dr. Howard Zinn, page 55, he says, "quote What made Bacon's rebellion especially fearsome for the rulers of Virginia was that black slaves." and white servants joined forces. The final surrender was by 400 English and Negroes in armies at one garrison and 300 freedmen and African and English bond servants in another garrison. The naval commander who subdued the 400 wrote, "Most of them I persuaded to go to their homes, which accordingly they did, except about 80 Negroes and 20 English, which would not deliver their arms." So, what did you just hear? You just heard during Bacon's Rebellion when black enslaved men and white indentured servants said, "You know what, fuck this, we coming together." Guess who got involved? The fucking Navy. So if that should happen, beware of intense opposition.
Uh, Professor, I'm about to get some shit for what I'm about to say. When you said that, that reminds me of something that I'm trying to do as well. Um, as part of being a Black Panther member, I'm working on something similar to that, and that's what I'm very aware of what the consequences may be. But I got in a few people ear, and I'm talking about white people. I got in a few white people ear. I hope it goes good, but I know what the consequences are. Just like I was telling Andy um, just last night, I know I'm just not gonna hide anything no more. So I'm gonna just put it all out in the open, and whatever happens, just happens.
Hey, you mind if I chime in?
Come again?
Okay,
I hit the mute
I
button.
hit the
Go
mute
ahead.
button. Go ahead. Right on. I appreciate it. So, sound like the man was trying to find some sort of common ground, some sort of unifier where, we Black Americans and the rest of America can unify and, I guess, save the country. And that gentleman, I don't know if he's still on the stage, but you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but it's the truth. The only thing that's going to stop this country from the downward spiral and disintegration that it's going through is if you pay Black Americans, if the country, not you personally, but if the country pays reparations to the Black Americans who are descended from those that was enslaved in this country. Now
Facts.
we got a little history lesson from the professor, and he talked about how the country was disintegrating before, and he talked about how the Union was lost until Frederick Douglass gave him the information, say, do something for the Black man in America, and we'll put our weight behind that, and then you'll win. See, they were losing the war. You weren't going to have a United States during the Civil War. Okay, so here we are again, and you're approaching the same position, because I see how you white conservatives and you white liberals are at each other's throats right now. I see it. And the only thing that you can do to save this nation is stop paying all the money for these wars, stop paying all the money for these immigrants to come in here and undergird them, stop wasting money, stop wasting money on these oligarchs, stop giving out the corporate welfare. Take that money and give the Black man and woman in this country everything that's due to us. And this country will transform into the world's greatest nation. It will actually
Overnight.
become the world's greatest nation. So Amen. Hopefully that made sense.
Perfect sense, brother. And to back you up with a little scholarship, James Baldwin said that in The Fire Next Time. It's a real short read. It's very powerful, very easy read. But James Baldwin just posited first God destroyed the earth with water. And if we don't pay the Black man and woman reparations for what was done to him, God's gonna destroy it with fire. That's The Fire Next Time. So that's what it is. And it would be such a simple solution to all of our problems. You know what I'm saying? But I digress. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I'm with what Immortal just said. Like, I'm gonna be disgruntled forever until we get our reparations. Period.
I think we're gonna get it. I'm pretty sure we are. Because history goes through these cycles. Like I said earlier, there was the last time we were in a cycle like this. Monroe. it was before emancipation, before the Civil War. It's very fascinating. I'm trying to find the exact page because I don't want to paraphrase this, but I'll paraphrase it until I find the scholarship. But basically, what happened, ladies and gentlemen, is slave rebellions were happening all over the country. We were getting sick and fucking tired of the conditions we were in. So, slave owners were being killed. They don't talk about this. They don't tell you that this stuff happened. Well, in 1800, I think I got it. Got it. Found the page. So basically, according to Dr. Howard Zinn, the United States government's support of slavery was based upon an overpowering practicality. In 1790, 1,000 tons of cotton was being produced every year in the South. By 1860, it was 1 million tons in the same period. 500,000 slaves grew to 4 million, a system harried by slave rebellions and conspiracies. So, slaves start rebelling, is what Dr. Zinn is saying. In 1800, Gabriel Prosser had a rebellion. Now Gabriel was an engineer. Let me stop right there and put a pin in something. Enslaved Africans were not dummies. People often forget that they had professions. Gabriel Prosser was a fucking engineer. Deal with it. Like we had these high titles and professions as slaves. How that worked, I don't know. I don't know how that worked, but it did work. So Gabriel Prosser got sick and tired of the situation he's in, and being an engineer, he engineered a rebellion. But he made one error. He told another Negro, and under the laws of meritorious manumission, um, this Negro traded him in. So let's look at Dr. Claude Anderson to find out what meritorious manumission is. According to Dr. Claude Anderson, meritorious manumission was the legal act of freeing a slave for good deeds as defined by the national public policy. Meritorious manumission could be granted to a slave who distinguished himself by saving the life of a white master, inventing a new a medicine or device, or snitching on fellow slaves. So somebody snitched on Gabriel Prosser, and it cost Gabriel Prosser his life. To make an example for the rest of the slaves, the enslaved black people, Gabriel was hung in public venue. Now that hanging got around to another enslaved African, another professional enslaved African named Denmark Vesey, who 20 years later, a little over 20 years later in 1822, had his own rebellion, and he was going to be twice as big. But what mistake did he made? He told everybody, and another Negro did, you guessed it, meritorious manumission. Turned him in for a butter biscuit, probably a extra piece of fat back or whatever the fuck he got, and Denmark Vesey was hung in public venue. Now, there was a brother just about a little under 10 years later named Nat Turner who learned his lesson. He said, I'm not going to tell all these Negroes. I'm only going to tell the Negroes that I know and trust. And Nat Turner staged a rebellion that killed scores of white slave owners and their family. Now, the official history says he killed about 51. I don't believe it. I believed it was 4 times that number, if not 10 times that number. Well, Nat Turner was hung in public venue. White supremacists made tonics and fucking jam and jellies out of his lard. What is wrong with these fucking people, y'all? They sold his pieces on auction. There's rumor that Matt Turner's body parts are still in masonry jars in people's basement. I digress. But after that, um, um, in 1859, a white man named John Brown said, I'm sick and tired of these black people being enslaved. You have to keep in mind, but ladies and gentlemen, the foundation of Black American, for some reason, is the leader of everything. So when we take action, other groups tend to follow us. I don't know why, but I know it's true. John Brown staged a slave rebellion, and he involved his own sons, many of which lost their lives. John Brown was killed um, for his actions. And some people, like the late great Dick Gregory, posited that John Brown, in his dying words, put a curse on the Confederacy, because after John Brown was executed, the Civil War popped off. Why did I just say that? I said that because that is the sequence of events. That's what happens. A couple people get pissed off here and there. The police or the powers that be make an example. They crucify them, right? Then another group say, well, shit, I'm gonna die anyway, so I might as well do that. Then they get crucified, and then it intensifies and snowballs until control is lost. Is that what I want? Absolutely not. I want the government to just give us our fucking reparations and leave us alone. But unfortunately, as a historian, the fact pattern I just mentioned is the standard. Andy,
I feel like, as a whole, that Black people are, we do lean more towards uh, conservative side than the liberal side. But what I really, really hate listening to white people who call for us to ally with them is this huge ocean of cognitive dissonance and the fact that they're actually part of the people waging the war against us. I have never in my life woken up one day and said, I hate all white people and I'm against them. No, I would like justice. And so, in their mind, they're able to create and formulate a unified thought of a system or justice whereby the American Negro is never repaired. And I find that to be amazing. It's like they can look at us dying out in the streets and say, hey, we need to give food and water and agriculture. We really need to, build up our infrastructure. And they'll watch us die by the hundreds of thousands, never thinking to repair those things that they have done and are doing. That's my only um, pushback against that man. It's like, my God, what about our repair, sir?
No emotional
Can
intelligence
you
and
imagine?
well, hold on. Let me put a pin in that right quick. Andy, I hear your point and I agree with you, and that goes back to the difference in natures. It quickly when you look at Michael Bradley's analysis of European behavior, he points out that Europeans were bred in a different environment than we were. So, according um, Michael Bradley, he says on page 21, quote, "We are human, but in the perspective of the entire human population, we are a pathology." Did you hear that? Michael Bradley says we are abnormal, atypical man. So I'm not judging any group of people, but I'm just saying our temperaments are just too different. Like Dr. John Henry Clark said, we should have never met. So you're very brilliant, Andy, but I think you're kind of looking at their psychology through the lens of our psychology. When time and time again, I don't think we have the same. I don't think we collectively see things the same way. Dr. Bradley says, I propose in this essay that the white race possesses an atypical level of aggression. That's a level of aggression that I would say that foundational Black Americans don't really possess. So um, that competitive, aggressive nature that was developed during the Younger Dryas is kind of diametrically opposed to our non-competitive, nurturing nature that was developed during the Miocene. Who was speaking earlier? Was that Captain?
Well, I just wanted to chime in to the sister and just say, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson puts it better than I can, but the way I see it, it's a society built on narcissism. Once you understand what a narcissist is, you understand that you can't change them. A narcissist, the psychiatrists and therapists, when they encounter narcissists, what they say is that they can't help these people. Their brains just think differently. And when they do try to come and get help, they end up just teaching them how to be better narcissists. So when you go and look up the traits of a narcissist and how they behave, how they think, how they interact with other people, you'll come to find that they have created for themselves a society of narcissism. So they'll never, you know, look at things the way that we would or the way that you think they should. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's right, and Welson did talk about that. But lastly, Michael, Dr. Bradley says, and I said this earlier, but I'm gonna say it again. He says, not intelligence, nor morality, nor spirit, but aggression is responsible for the white man's superiority. Aggression is responsible for the expansion of Caucasians, both geographically and culturally, at the expense of other races. That's the name of the game, and it's not. Uh, uh, Dr. Bradley would posit that it's not really personal. It's just the way. It's the way it is from that climate point of view. When you're reared in a climate where you're probably gonna freeze to death anyway, that's where if you're gonna either starve or freeze to death. That's where the attitude, what we call a Machiavellian attitude, develops, where the end justifies the means. Y'all ever heard that? It's, you know what? I'm gonna die anyway, so I'm just gonna fucking enjoy myself while I'm here. I don't care what happens. Oh, it hurts your feelings. I don't care. It's about me. I'm gonna enjoy myself because we're all miserable, right? That's a philosophy. And does everybody have that philosophy? No. But like Dr. Welsing posited, time and time again, the overwhelming evidence shows that that is a cultural attitude amongst a large majority of that specific group of people. Anybody else want to come up and comment? Okay, quiet.
Yeah, the audacity of him to come in here and ask us, oh, we we want to just get together and fix this nation. Fool, don't you know you owe us money? Don't you know this country owes us money? And you come to this shit's crazy. And you come to help us ask you to save it. As for me and mine, we willing to sit back and watch the whole thing crumble and come back and pick up the pieces. This time we're not gonna pick a side. Me, as for me and mine, we're gonna let them go at each other and we're gonna come mop up the leftovers. Straight like that.
Yeah, yeah. That's what James Baldwin said 60 years ago. It's playing out.
I'm down to cause some
Um,
ruckus.
w-
Shit,
Go
I'm
ahead,
down to
bro.
cause some ruckus, but Professor, can you and Andy, well, she ain't listed on here, so, but can you check your inbox and tell me what you think, what's happening?
Oh, I'm talking through a
Uh,
mute. Was that sent to you?
I didn't, he was talking to somebody else, but with the attitude that they have, you can see that they used missionaries to justify slavery.
No,
And
I was talking to Professor.
the
Oh,
missionaries,
oh yeah, Captain. I saw. We'll talk about it later. I've had a similar thing. But go ahead,
the
Wani.
missionaries were the architects of the slavery, and they organized who they thought was the best to enslave. So when you have people with that type of attitude, they can justify anything. They are the kings of hypocrisy. I don't know how they do it, other than what I've noticed is they would say, basically, you're not a human. So we don't have to treat you under, whatever the Ten Commandments are, do not apply to these other people. That's how they got away with that. They just said, you're not a human. But would you, if we were savages, like they said, like they called Native Americans and us, if that was true, does that justify even if we were savages? Do you get to just slaughter all the animals you don't like? Wolves are savages. All of these animals are savages, but you don't go around just slaughtering them. So even if we were savages, how do they justify that? But they seem to have justified it, and they continue to justify it. They continue to go to church with their clan outfits on, and we have pictures showing them at a Christian church with their clan outfits on. So trying to reason with them, I think, is just a waste of time. Like I said, if they want to, come with an organization, not random people in the room talking because they want to hear themselves talk, fine. Come with an organization. We'll see what you're talking about. But I don't feel like we need to join in because we can just do this in parallel. We'll just do what we're doing. You do what you're doing. We don't have to be MAGA. We don't have to hang out with you.
Yeah, I'm definitely not.
So, Wani, I've been, I got scholarship that I keep to myself. You know this. Some of y'all know this, but I'm about to show y'all something that you've never seen before. This is from a 150-year-old book that I acquired that had a little excerpt on missionaries in it. And there's a picture that's just so telling. If y'all would look at the Drumbletron, I'm hitting y'all with some rare scholarship. I'm paraphrasing Wani, but she was basically saying that the church was used to create drones to attack us. And I think this picture right here, this rare picture, really proves that. Look at that.
Um,
It's like the
I think
military.
I'm waiting for it to pop up because I'm not seeing it yet. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, look at that. The word. Be careful with this. Eh. No, I'm gonna leave that alone. But what I will say, missionary. Look at the key word in missionary. Mission. In my scholarship, in the workbook for the African American family, my scholarship I wrote at this college education, I found out that the Portuguese, when after Vasco da Gama circumnavigated the globe and the information got back to Europe, that there was an area, and I want y'all to hear this real clear, that there was an area called which is known as Africa, where there were women who walked around topless who bathed. So they said, "Oh wow, they bathe." Um, Portuguese men started leaving their wives by the thousands and selling everything they owned to get on a boat trip to go on a raping spree to West Africa. Um, but their cover to go to West Africa, when their intent was to go over there and rape as many women as they could find and get a harem, which Dr. Chancellor Williams, his exact words, to go gather a harem. Their cover to do that was they pretended like they were priests, they were pastors in the church. So they went over there on the guise of saving their soul, but they're really going over there to um, violate their womanhood. This is the type of people we're dealing with. You can't reason with that. And I can accept that. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. My problem is what I don't understand, what I bang my head on the cement for, is I don't understand why we keep continuing to try to reason. Does anybody have an answer for that? Why do we keep trying to reason with people with this type of history?
Professor, I think it's because we truly believe in the American dream and what really could be, but obviously there's certain entities and individuals who can't reciprocate the same goal and ideas.
Yeah, and yeah, that's true.
I think
Just been
I
propaganda.
think forgive and forget and turning the other cheek is part of the problem, and I don't do it. That's the difference in my personality is that I'll forgive you if it was an accident. But if you did it deliberately, I'm not going to forgive you because that gives you an opportunity to do it again.
Facts. I grew up learning you can forgive but never forget. But I understand exactly what you're saying too, Wani. And then one more thing, it's like I don't understand how they're a lot of white Americans, quote unquote white Americans, they come into spaces and they don't understand that by proxy, America is going to like prosper with us getting reparations and what we do naturally. Like we don't need to be told that. This is one more thing I was going to say, but I don't know. It's like we needed. They think we needed to be walked around and like guided for some reason, which is very crazy.
Well, no, here goes the key to this, and I'm happy to shed light on this one. Um, the majority of Caucasian people in America are descendants of immigrants. That was brought to my attention. The quote unquote Mayflower white people are very few and far in between. And people are aware of their lineage. We're really the only group that's been kind of out of the loop of knowing who we were, but now that's kind of changing exponentially, in my view. But given the fact a lot of these people are from immigrant groups, they know the deal. The deal was they were to come over here to be a buffer class. They're diametrically opposed to the foundational Black American. Let me tell you how Howard Zinn said it. Dr. Howard Zinn on page 227 of his masterpiece said, quote, "How could these new Irish immigrants, themselves poor and despised, become sympathizers with the black slave who was becoming more and more the center of attention, the subject of agitation in the country? Indeed, most working class activists at this time ignored the plight of the blacks. Eli Moore, a New York trade union leader elected to Congress, argued in the House of Representatives against receiving abolitionist petitions. Racial hostility became an easy substitute for class frustration." I'm going to say that shit again. Racial hostility became an easy substitute for class frustration. What am I saying? What I'm saying is these immigrants, these descendants of immigrants, like Joe Biden, he's an Irish immigrant. They know who they are at their core. And what's given them grace and mercy is substituting the frustration of the knowledge of where they came from and their family history. They have scapegoated us. We became an easy substitute for them facing the reality of their condition. Now, if we got out of our condition, what would they have to do? They would have to face the reality of the condition they're in. And like James Baldwin said, facing that reality would destroy them. James Baldwin said, "The innocence is the crime." Come on with it, Wells.
Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak in this space. In answer to your question about white people, it's something that my parents taught me many years ago, over 50 years ago. And it's until you understand fully and be serious about understanding and believing in this, because there's many examples of it, that white people come from a lineage of pure evil. And they do. They come from a lineage of pure evil. There's no gray area for them. There's no um space for them to redeem themselves. It is innate. They cannot help themselves. If you notice, that picture that you posted is profound. It says so much for me, personally. Um, when I saw that picture, immediately I thought about Roman Catholicism, and that Roman Catholicism was born out of rape and pillage and pilfering, and you look at its history, um that they've been able to you know get away with for centuries, pedophilia, both priests and nuns. And you look at the missionaries around the world, we have heard, I remember in Clubhouse there was a space where these Africans were saying basically that these missionaries would tell them, you know, at least would speak so ill about Black American people before they came to this country or whatever. It was just, it's an indoctrination. And when you look at what they do around the world, it's not good work. White people come from a lineage of absolute pure evil. There is no gray area about it. There's no doubt about it. And if you understand that really completely, you can move around them, you can make money off of them, from them, you can deal with them, and you know how to navigate them. When you let your guard down and when you think, well, you give them the benefit of the doubt, or you give them space to infiltrate your personal life, that's when all hell breaks loose. Even in the workplace, no matter how much education you have, no matter how much talent you have in the workplace, you cannot let them know where you live. You cannot show pictures of your family. You cannot give them links to your social media. You cannot tell them anything about you personally because shit rolls down from the top. From the top, meaning HR, for example. They will look up where you live. They will find out how much you paid for your house. They will assess the clothes that you're wearing, whether it's designer or not. They won't stop until they look for the clothes that you're wearing to see how much you paid for it. They will look at your pocketbook and surmise how much you paid for it. And no matter how well you do in your job, they will not give you the raise or the promotion simply because they cannot drive what you drive. They cannot afford to wear what you wear. They cannot afford to live where you live. They cannot afford to put their children in the school that you put your kids in. They will make you not get anything because they are so envious and hateful. Until you understand fully that they come from a lineage of pure evil, okay? Gotta, until you really realize that, you will be burnt by these people permanently. You must never let them know your business because their whole mission in life is to tear you down, is to never allow you to make money. Never. That's why in corporate America, you know, for Black people, look, you go to corporate American jobs to gain the experience knowing that you have an expiration date and you gain as much as you can. And then you're always thinking about the next move because you're never going to make it in corporate America with these people. You're never going to make it. It doesn't matter how much PhDs you have. It doesn't matter. As my father taught me, America has a way of letting you know who you are. He always told me, if you are not Black first, if you don't move Black first, no matter what you achieve in life, Jackie, they will treat you as the nigger who achieved XYZ. He says, whatever you do in life, you're Black first. Once you start forgetting about that, all bad things happen to you. He has never, I mean, that man was incredible. So that's my answer to that.
That's wonderful, Wells. And I wanted to follow her up with another quote by Dr. Howard Zinn that talks about the second wave of immigrants, the Irish. Dr. Howard Zinn says, quote, the immigrants from Ireland fleeing starvation there when the potato crop failed were coming to America now, packed into old sailing ships. The stories of these ships differ only in detail from the accounts from the ships that earlier brought black slaves and later German, Italian, and Russian immigrants. This is a contemporary account of what one ship arrived from Ireland, detained at Grosse Isle on the Canadian border. On the 18th of May, 1847, the Urania, I'm sorry, from court with several hundred immigrants on board, a large portion of them sick and dying of the ship fever, were put into quarantines at Grosse Isles. This was the first of the plague-smitten ships from Ireland, which that year sailed up the St. Lawrence. But before the first week of June, as many as 84 ships of the various tonnage were driven in by the easterly wind, and of that enormous number of vessels, there was not one free from the taint of malignant typhus. That's typhoid fevers. Fever. The offspring of the famine, and that foul ship hold. Dot dot dot. A tolerably quick passage occupied from 6 to 8 weeks. So these people did. You know, what I'm saying, they came over here in bondage. I'm not caping for them. Don't misconstrue me. I'm just saying there's a lot of fuel for jealousy. The name of the game from day one, from jump, was to come over here and I'll give you a better life if you keep this Negro in place. That's been the name of the game for the last 300 fucking years. Nothing, in my view, my historical view, I don't see anything that's changed now. There are those that say that's not going on now, but where are they moving immigrants in Chicago? What neighborhoods are they moving them into? You know what I'm saying? What neighborhoods are the immigrants taking in Los Angeles? What neighborhoods are they taking in Alabama, my home state? It's our neighborhoods. So that's in diametric competition with us. Like, intentional or not, I don't care. My daddy used to tell me, it doesn't matter why you punched me. It matters that you punched me. And man, we getting punched. Anybody want to contribute? So I kind of we got deviated off topic. I enjoyed this discussion, but there was some scholarship I wanted to bring up with respect to Egyptian music. I broke out marimba I to talk about European music. And with respect to Egyptian origins of music, Dr. Anid said something very interesting. Dr. Anid said, perhaps, quote, there's perhaps no better form of artistic expression than that of music to demonstrate the particular dynamics of the European aesthetic. Listen closely, ladies and gentlemen. The European mind responded to music in precisely the same way that it responded to every kind of phenomenon which with which it was presented. Music was analyzed, dissected, studied, translated into language of mathematics. It was written down, and then it could be read, as one would read a mathematical equation. And true, the pattern of European development, the intellectuals who created this new music were successful and introducing it into the culture as a whole because the culture itself was predisposed to value such an approach. With writing comes control, and with control for Europeans comes power. This is the nature of European culture. Um, she says, in the West, an artist of African descent, that means foundational Black American, this book is old, who was somehow miraculously inherited the genius of her culture via her ancestral memory and plays without ever having studied the tools of the European. It is an embarrassment. It is like European science is being confronted by the astronomical knowledge of the Dogon people. It exists, but it shouldn't. So, what Dr. Ani posited is the Europeans' pitfall. The reason why we have no European version of Bobby Blue Bland or Lauren Hill, or the list goes on into ad infinitum, is because European culture is based upon control and domination. Every aspect, according to Dr. Ani, every aspect of life is not done for enjoyment, it's done for control. Absolutely, even music is done to control. And the seeking to control something is kind of a dangerous thing. The way it was taught to me is what happens to a flame when you put it in a bottle? It dies, right? I'm seeing that happen with education. Education has been formalized, it's formulaic, it's standardized, and the children in America, their love for learning, like that flame in the bottle, slowly dies out
When you were
until it. Go
when you
ahead.
were talking about Miles Davis, he told my father that he didn't want to play with. He was actually not as I think he was more rude publicly, but he did tell my father, I don't want to play with white people because they can't play. I mean, he just said it's just slightly off. Even if you read the music, even if like he just felt that it was off and like why bother to do it. because they were discussing the fact that my father would let a couple of his friends play in his band that were not that good, but it was like nepotism. Like, this is my homeboy, so he can be one of the 18 band members. He doesn't have to be great. He doesn't have to be a good soloist. He can just fill the space. And then I guess they shifted on to talking about white people playing, but these are all black men in the band. Who's next?
We got a new speaker. I think was it Christopher Satchel.
Yes, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Hello, everyone. I agree with you 100%, and I love classical music, but I think that I could have sworn I heard somewhere that it could be argued that classical music was never a European creation. And Mozart, for example, he was heavily influenced by a black person that was mixed, that died probably a few years prior to his prime as a musician. I think that I'm just agreeing with you 100% everything you're saying, and I think that it's kind of sad because there possibly are people who come from that lineage of degeneracy have been rehabilitated by coexisting with us. But I think that it is safe to, do exactly what Muhammad Ali said in the interview. He said, imagine a room full of snakes. I mean, you can't sit there and have time to determine which one is a good snake that's not going to bite you and which one is a bad snake. You have to kind of treat them all the same because if you don't do that, you'll get bitten by a snake. And I think that it's sad, but it's true. And Malcolm X was absolutely right about the white liberal, and that's still a form of control as well because they never, if you notice, whenever there's some type of uproar from our community, there's always some type of usurping happening from the liberal white people by wanting to be the face of something that they didn't even spearhead. And even beyond the fact of them being part of the problem, it has always been about dominance. So I'll let my plane. I agree with you 100%. All the way down to like the person that's poor in some rural, hick town. There's always a fight for dominance over us, and I think that we should be comfortable being infamous. I'm surviving now as a financial Black American person now by accepting being infamous in comparison to when I was younger and always talking to my mother why people don't like me. And like her saying that, well, don't worry about what people think. But there's always a yearning to be accepted by a society in which, I exist in. But the reality is now, as I'm older, wiser, that there's nothing wrong being in the state, especially when you're standing on righteousness. I'll let my plane.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That realization. Anybody else?
Could you paraphrase what he said? I could barely hear him, Professor. If you could, please.
He was just saying that Muhammad Ali had it right when Muhammad Ali made an analogy when he was talking about European. Muhammad Ali was in an interview and with a Caucasian man, and the guy was like, "Well, all of us." I'm paraphrasing. The guy was like, "Well, all of us aren't bad. A lot of white people want to help the Negro," and he seemed real sincere. And Muhammad Ali, in his brilliance, said he did an analogy. He said, "In a room, what if you have a room of snakes, 1,000 snakes?" He said 100 of them are really nice and not going to bite you. They just want to play. But I can't take the risk trying to figure out which snake is going to bite me and which snake is not. So the gentleman was making that analogy to say that Ali was right. We need to kind of separate, which is unfortunate, but I don't profess to be the knower of all truth. But what I do know is the world of education and what I've assessed in my 15 years in education from middle school to graduate school to the college world, higher ed, is the Black American, the foundational Black American, just statistically, from my own studies and from my research, does better when we're around each other. There are reasons for that. There's confidence reasons. Like me, just me being a 6 foot three black 250 pound black dude um in class from in Alabama, New York, Tennessee, and Georgia. My children are successful. My FBA kids are successful as hell. They're atypically successful. I got attorneys now. I got a couple medical MDs, a whole bunch of teachers, educators, a professor or two, a bunch of police officers, a bunch of military NCOs, a couple officers. Why are they so successful? Because I was around them and they saw my dumb ass doing it. So that gave them the confidence to know the shit. If he, man, that big old dumbass dude can do it. I know I can do it. You know what I'm saying? And there was nobody there trying to put them in a box. I was in a room the other day. Some of y'all were in here with this, one of my earlier spaces. And a Caucasian gentleman joined our room and he immediately start trying to talk about football. Now, I don't do sports. I played sports, but that's not my stick. But he was trying, and I don't think this gentleman meant any harm. It's just in his view, in his brainwashing, his propagandizing, he thought that black
Only
men
thing they care about is football.
football, that's well all he could see. And imagine if he was in a position, imagine that same dude. No, he meant no harm. He meant no harm. Imagine him in a classroom full of at an all boys school in the hood, um, teaching history around a bunch of FBA boys. He gonna look at them. He's looking at them as football players, so he's gonna talk to them and groom them a certain way that's gonna be detrimental to them. Whereas you put me in there, and I used to play football. I'm gonna tell every last one of they ass, man, put that fucking football up. I don't ever want to see that shit. I'm gonna believe more into them than that. I got one of my undergrads right now is from my grandmother's neighborhood in DC, and like she's like her dreams from her interactions with me. I'll be telling her like how brilliant she is, and just talking to her about DC. Um, she's from a neighborhood that where I'm old. I'm a 80s baby, but I'm feeling old. But used to be a club. Some of y'all remember if y'all know DC. Y'all remember H2O, that club. Damn, I wish somebody would know H2O, but it was a club in DC, a black club. They used to rock
I
Frankie
remember
Beverly.
H2O. Then they turned into Zanzibar.
Yes.
Yeah, it's on the waterfront. I used to go there.
Yeah, somebody knew somebody was gonna know H2O. So she from that neighborhood, and I just know her. I know her whole attitude. You know what I'm saying? It's that attitude from that part of DC, and I was able to relate to her on a street level and say, okay, well, street shit is street shit, but hey, you on scholarship. You're not gonna get a chance at this. You don't want to end up back in Southeast DC. You don't want to do that. And I'm like, look, I've been in your situation before. This is your one chance. Just hitting her with that amount of reality. She needed to hear that from a black dude. You know what I'm saying? I've seen time and time again a white teacher telling them, and then I'm not demonizing white people. A lot of them don't mean any harm, but they don't have contextual understanding, and sometimes they'll superimpose what works for them on us. And I'm gonna tell y'all this: that fucked my life up
Same here, brother.
royally. It cost me so much fucking time. I mean, my daddy put me and my little sister in a rich white high school. He wasn't rich. He worked at a gas station to get us that apartment that was on. But I grew up. Last couple years of high school, grew up with white dudes from wonderful families, not racist, just wonderful people. And I made the error of assuming that if I modeled my life just like them, I would have the similar outcomes. When that was not the truth. Like they got all kind of networks, and one of my best friends, best associates from high school, rather, never finished college. Um, Mom and dad got him a job somehow as a fucking something that I would need an MBA to do. He was working for the G4, the Jets. I mean, some nice shit in a hangar on a computer. $1 million business execs coming up in that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Flying the jet inside the hangar. He ain't got a degree. 100 G's a year. This is 10 years ago. Just like, you know what? Our son's ready to work. Call good old Jim and tell him to give him a job. That shit don't exist for me. I'm always overqualified for my fucking jobs. You know what I'm saying? I'm used to getting turned down because I got too much education, too much this and that, and people are intimidated by me. But that's just a taste of it. You know, we need our own. We need them back to the point at hand. We need our own circles. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely
Oh, come on,
100%.
Andy.
No, I was just thinking about Crestwell because I talked to her in my DMs as well. I was trying to keep from being incendiary because we have to move our conversation and our thoughts along. But I have been thinking a lot about the word performance and performative. You remember me bringing out that I believe if they perform masculinity or they perform femininity. Well, I have a friend who keeps lecturing me that they also perform humanity. And so,
Ooh.
and that is it.
That's deep.
So I get on these spaces. Like I said, I'm not trying to be incendiary because we're actually learning from each other, and that's to make the conversation grow. So when you say certain things, it immediately throws up these roadblocks. But I've been trained all my life to actually say that they perform humanity, and I love when she brought that up about her dad and that secret life that you must live when you're in proximity to them. The only thing that they can actually know about you is everything external. Like, yes, I know that Andrea's 5'9". I know that she is brown skin. I know that she's a size. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell y'all that shit. Stuff like that. So that's the only thing that they can know. So we are an extremely internal people, but because we are talented, people have a tendency to believe that we're extroverts. And I don't find that to be true whatsoever. I find if you really want to know a Black person, it's going to take you about 3 years. You're going to have to follow them around. You're going to have to ask them, what do you think? Not what you do, not where they go, not where they live, and not where they work. You have to ask them, what do you think? And you have to kind of drop that subtly, to actually get this information out of them. It's one of the reasons why I believe it's very difficult for us to, like I'm going to bring it up again, canonize Black intellectual thought because we're so used to having it shot down, discredited, and we're insulted. But before you end this space, Professor Allen, I have to tell you this thing. So I had somebody come into my DMs today that I hadn't spoken for a long, long time.
It sounds like you're a little far away from your mic, Andy.
Mhm.
Andy, I can't hear you. I'm really interested in what you got to say too. What are we saying? Hey,
Yeah,
Andy.
on my phone it says she's a listener. I don't know if that is the same for y'all's or not.
Wow. No, I said speaker.
Yeah, mine says speaker too, but I can't hear.
I can't hear either. Doggone it, Andy. I was curious because Captain sent me some interesting shit to my Captain. I got that DM man, and I they sent me some recruitment material last semester, and it was videos and shit. I didn't reply to that shit. Mm-mm.
I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi keeps going in and out. I don't know why. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I
Okay,
hear you
so
now.
everyone, he was telling me the reach of this space with Money and Dr. Allen, and he was saying it's a lot of people who listen to this space. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, I'm hearing that. Like, yeah, on a big scale, it's very.
Why did you know
I'm
that?
shocked. I know Wani's very interesting, but like, but go
And
ahead.
so I didn't want to forget that. I had to tell you that because he's saying they're listening for the education. You force information.
Well, I'm grateful to be able to serve my people. That's all I want to do is be of use to my people. So, thank you for letting me know that, Andy. You there, Andy? But and if you can hear me, you're part of the reason too. I mean, we got like a synergy going on here. I'm just like I'm the textual evidence. I'm the book. Wani's the know-how and the innovation and your innovation, and I just back stuff up.
Yeah,
I
call me
think
the muscle.
you gonna beat them down.
The tank killer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when you're ready
silly.
to move like that, call me.
I thought I was the muscle.
Ah. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm a nerd. I used
silly.
to play WoW, World of Warcraft. See, Wani's the healer. Goddamn. Professor's the DPS.
Healer.
Mess with you.
Bro, I used to play StarCraft. That was my
Okay, yeah, still
shit.
by Blizzard, huh? Come on now.
Yes, sir. I never got with Warcraft, but StarCraft, I play that shit over and over again.
Yeah, my uncle's in the military, and he put me on it when I was real young. But it's legit.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, I would think that Wanda would be the type to lure the enemy in with her voice, but real
On
quick
some siren types.
she can go to chop your damn head off real quick. I'm telling you.
Yep. She would be like, sit in that chair right there. Just sit down, and you sit down, and a trap door like takes you somewhere else.
Yaga.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed y'all. I'm gonna go to bed. Tomorrow we have a theme for homecoming where I either get to dress like a biker. I don't know what a biker wears.
A black motorcycle
Uh,
jacket.
No sleeve
don't got
leather
one.
vest. Come on now.
Ain't got
Yeah,
it.
whatever you do, don't go in there in them 1980s biker shorts. Don't
No,
do it.
Michael
Whoa.
Jackson.
No,
Okay.
that's not gonna happen. Or a surfer. So
Yeah,
what do
yeah.
surfers
They
wear?
They're
tell her
naked.
how to come.
Oh no, I'm not doing
You
that.
have to
They're
get some
naked.
shorts and a surfboard.
So I think I'm just gonna wear some polo shorts and a polo shirt and a hat or
Do
some
you know how to
shit.
say dude?
How do I say
Damn, cuz you finna go swimming, ain't it?
it? Nah, I'm just gonna cut down. I have an excuse to cut down on my dry cleaning bill.
Shit. Hey, I know you said something about a book earlier that you was
Yeah,
gonna
we
work
need to
on.
know that,
Hey,
man. Every
if
time
you
it's
get that
space.
if you work in that book, I'll buy the book because I'm very interested in that professor. And
Oh, I got you covered. I'm gonna have a lot of fun. I got some help. I'm co-writing it with
if
somebody that you might know. But yeah, I'm excited about this research because I have a bunch of um I got some sources that are very rare. Um and I have somebody who knows more about this than I do. And I think it just has to be done.
yeah, and I know you said that some of the things that you're looking for is like in the archives, that we can't get access to. But if you need some help,
Hmm.
I'm right here in Alabama. Roll
Yeah,
Tide,
those
and
southern states. Absolutely.
yeah.
Dude, I never knew you were in Alabama. That's my hometown. I'm my home state.
Oh yeah, my mom from here. My dad from Texas. I'm born in California, so I got the deep South roots inside of me. So you know, I've been a Bama fan before I even came. But if you need some help with something, just let me know. I'm right here,
Oh yeah. Well, what town you in?
Tuscaloosa, home of the Tide.
Tu Tuscaloosa. That's exactly some scholarship I was looking at right now. No shit.
Yeah,
While you were talking, I went to go get one of my rare books. It's a book from my dad got from University of Alabama back in the 70s that you can't find anymore called No Alabama. No shit, it's in my hand. I picked it up before you said you were in Alabama. And I was looking for a place in there for Tuscaloosa before you said you were into that's like some of that synchronicity stuff, Wani. But I wanted to kind of show you something that said talked about Tuscaloosa. Basically, I'm not gonna find it in time, but it said Tuscaloosa means black warrior.
Yes,
Did
sir.
you know that?
Oh yeah.
That's literally what Tuscaloosa means.
Oh yeah.
Black
And
warrior.
the great Chief Calusa as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's in here. That's what I was looking for. And he got ended up getting killed by like fucking Hernando de Soto had him killed. Like this shit. It's a interesting history that nobody talks about.
Oh yeah.
Like, well, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed y'all.
Hey, I have one more
We're gonna
question.
do this again. Oh, go
All right,
ahead.
Professor, do you know an author by the name of Lolita Tatamy or Wani either? I don't know if y'all know her.
Lolita.
Tatamy is her last name. This is one of my descent. Oh, we're related, but Tatamy line is through Louisiana. So if you needed some, yeah, some references from the South as well, it's the Creek Indians.
Yeah, definitely. Do DM me her name. Like,
That'll work, bro.
absolutely.
Hey, Professor.
Yes, sir.
You know I sit with Nick sometimes.
Saban.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Alabama's a monster, man.
Well, I think we got this under wraps coming up Saturday, and I heard Trump's is supposed to be coming, but not fully sure about that one. He's for the Tide.
Is Saban still? He's still coach. I thought he
Yeah, he's
retired.
retired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, had him to the house, had him over at the house, and been at his house. You know, my brother go there now. He's playing.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, he don't
Yeah.
play no bullshit either. He's strict as hell.
Nah, I lost my chance, man. When I had my chance to go and play for the Tide, I just didn't take it. I turned it down, but with probable cause. I'm a businessman, so
Yeah, I mean, playing football is a little bit more dangerous than people make it out. You know what I'm saying? You can get a head injury and be fucked up
Yeah, I
forever.
tore my
yeah.
pec and it's just, yeah.
But I still got that connection.
Yeah, it's important.
And if you need some connections, just let me know.
Man, I'm reaching out, man. Y'all, I enjoyed y'all. Make sure you follow me. Hold on, I see somebody's requested. That's weird. Ethan, you want to say something before we close out?
Hey, Ethan. Ethan.
Can y'all hear me?
Why that name sound
Yes.
Yeah, I
familiar?
hear you, never.
Okay, okay. How you doing? To the host and co-host, the great professor, one of the great. What's up to
Hey.
all the Black Americans?
What's up, brother?
Y'all was talking about Alabama and just real quick, but I'm gonna let you go. I was thinking about moving to Alabama just because I found out that a lot of my ancestry comes from there. So I kind of wanted. I was thinking about actually moving there just to kind of just move back and just do some of my more research and see where my lineage really come from, my people really come from, what Alabama's all about. And would you recommend it? And if you did, would you give me any tips or anything like that, or if anybody in the room, to you as well, Captain, if you could, give me a little insight on that.
Oh yeah, bro. Alabama is a man. It used to be a hidden secret, but what happened is there was a developer, a real estate developer in Nashville that started developing, kicking black people out their neighborhood in Nashville and started developing Nashville. And basically, they gentrified all of Nashville. So they ran out of places and they moved to Birmingham, my hometown. But you used to be able to get a house for like $10,000 in Birmingham. But it used to be a real best kept secret. Alabama is the second most bio what's the word biologically diverse state in the union. That's a fact. People don't talk about that. The most biologically diverse state in the union is California, and the only reason California beat us is because California has a desert. Alabama has everything but a desert. When you go to
Oh,
Huntsville,
What about
yeah,
Texas?
Huntsville
We have a
is,
coast and a Gulf.
but you don't have a marsh, a riparian
You're right.
swamp.
You're
We got
right.
a swamp. But we got, man, there's so much shit in Alabama. What I'm trying to say is Alabama got everything you want, but a desert. Like you got mountains, like Birmingham's and the rolling hill. When you enter Alabama and Huntsville, North Alabama, it's like flat. Then you get to Birmingham, and you can start going into rolling hills. You go into like steep mountains on the way to Atlanta. Then you go south, and you get like flat plain land like Kansas. And when you get closer to Mobile, you hit swamp, and you got white beaches. Man, Alabama's fucking beautiful. Um, and
Uh,
certain places are cheap, so it depends on what you want, bro. If you want to like live by the beach, you
I,
know what I'm saying? You might want to talk to
I'm
Lowski.
from,
He from
I'm from Florida, so I kind of wanted to stay right there on that Gulf Coast. Well, I'm in Atlanta now, but I'm from Miami, so I wanted. Yeah, I was thinking about what was that? Huntsville? Is that Huntsville? That's on the coast, on the Gulf Coast, right there on the bottom.
no, that's
Mobile,
Mobile.
okay. Yeah, so I found out that a lot of my ancestry goes deep way to I believe I went to the early 1800s in Alabama. So I kind of wanted to something was telling me if I go back, I would get a lot of just good things. Like I don't know why that came to me. Like something's telling me if I go there, I will have a lot of good luck. And I just want to feel a lot of that ancestral energy. I just want to bask in that. So
Oh, it's definitely there in Mobile, man. Mobile got rich history. They
hmm
got towns. They got Africa Town, like where kind of like a Gullah Geechee
hmm
type thing, and so yeah, man. And I love Mobile. Mobile's beautiful, and it's not that expensive. But yeah, I advise it, man. Alabama's everything you want.
okay.
Now, I would say if you're thinking about getting, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. Uh, Hey, find you a woman somewhere else. Alabama women are
Oh Lord.
crazy,
Man, Southern women crazy. Period. You gotta love them.
Southern girl,
man.
the Mason Dixon
Yeah,
line.
crazy.
Man, I found me a Andy shit.
Yeah, Andy's a cutie, and she a Marine. She got you covered.
Shit, she know what it is.
I'm about to tag out, but Professor Wani and Andy, God bless y'all. God bless all the co-hosts, speakers, listeners as well. But y'all don't understand. Maybe y'all do, but the significance of black educators to teach young black folks, man, that shit is crazy, man. That's why I'm so locked in on what y'all are saying because I've internally listened and know this information for myself. So when y'all are saying it, it's like, yo, I'm locked in. I'm energetic, but I wasn't able to express that growing up, if that makes sense. I would raise my hand in Magnolia, Texas, and around a bunch of white people, and I wouldn't get answered. And then I wouldn't raise my hand in the like future until I broke that little pattern. And then to read a mockingbird, to kill a mockingbird, and then learning about slavery, this shit was crazy, man.
Come to a conclusion that
What'd you say, one?
oh, sorry, I was saying something.
Oh, it's all good. But yeah, education for our youth is really important. I really didn't understand it until listening to like-minded individuals, like I said, because I was felt like a lone wolf. If that makes sense. I learned all this after I graduated and whatnot. So y'all are much appreciated,
Me
Oh
brothers.
yeah,
too.
yeah, me too, me too, me three. Yeah, yeah. They don't teach you nothing. It's brainwash, man. And learning about yourself is nothing more beautiful than learn about yourself. Learn that our lineage.
It's deeper than this fucking chattel
And
slavery. Jesus, they did such a
dog,
disservice to us, bro. That's crazy.
I'm getting excited about my research right now because I'm starting to see we're a lot bigger than what I thought. But I'm gonna keep y'all tuned in, ladies and gentlemen. I enjoyed y'all. Y'all get some rest, and we'll start this again tomorrow, same time, same place. This Professor A signing out.
All right, Professor.
Peace out.